your eyes out for. But that's the thing over here at KC, right? And they've had this break week where we genuinely expected them to work a little bit more in their team harmony.
Well, yeah, with these 3 weeks, it's been a long time. It really feels like it's one of those periods of time where it either makes or breaks the team, especially with this sort of pressure and the decisions. Or is Niski going to play? Is Vladi still going to be playing? Because I also heard rumors that Niski got some play time. So it does bring the question up here: did they fix enough? And given the fact that they're still going with Vladi for today, it really does show that they have a lot of confidence to fix up these problems that they have been having for this summer split.
Well, thank you so much for your takes on Vladi and what we can be expecting. Over on the other side, however, we have G2, and Madrid is their last chance to secure any title this year, which is a crazy position to be in, Vedi, because this is literally G2 that we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, G2 has had a pretty interesting year overall. Even though they've been able to make back-to-back finals, for the standards of this organization, that just hasn't been enough. And they have set their sights on a title. They want to guarantee themselves first seed heading into the World Championship. And while throughout this year they've shown in the playoffs they can get to the finals, there's still that question mark of, are things different this time around?
And that's a question that they're going to have to answer today, because honestly, Rob, as well, it feels like finally the pieces of the puzzle, the vision that G2 had at the start of the year, it's coming together.
Yeah, and this has to be it. Like, it's make or break at this stage. And my eyes are kind of drifting towards Skuyemand and Labrov, as you've already highlighted. These were the new pieces. These were the pieces that had to shine to make this organization work. And I think especially for Skuyemand, he has been spectacular in that role. He's had a plethora of different champions he's able to bring to the board. He's been supporting his lanes exceptionally well, making sure that he can shadow people, especially like Broken Blade, when he brings out some of these unique picks. He's been all around the map, and I think both him and Labrov have really stepped into their own and understanding where they need to be on the map to support the winning pieces of G2 and support the winning organization in theory.
Absolutely. I mean, we have this kind of smorgasbord of champions plastered are behind us just to illustrate the kind of diverse styles that Skuyemand has brought to this team. And as you highlighted, there were a lot of questions surrounding the introduction of these players, but it's nice to see both Skuyemand and Labrov finally fitting into place. The question is it overhype? Because we know that they came from Group B. We've seen now that both teams from Group A are the ones that have qualified for playoffs, and there is that question mark of how strong is G2 really?
It feels like the way that this direction is going here is all eggs in the Vladi basket on the side of KC, whereas on G2 it's more of a team effort.
I 100% agree. I think the way I look at G2 is that it's not like they have very good people in each of their individual roles, but it's more about having that all come together as a unit where they understand, hey, I need to push this wave on side so I can be at this position for this objective, so I can make sure that we're working as a team. And that has always been the way that G2 have won, even though they have some of the best players. And I think that's why Skuyemand and Labrov needed to step up. I mean, you heard kind of Labrov talk about on Euphoria that it was a lot of pressure on him, and I can imagine it was the same for Skuyemand about trying to adapt to this G2 organization, but it finally feels like they're getting there.
I mean, all I know is that coming into this game, they're two really strong teams. It's going to be a powerhouse matchup. There's so many matchups to keep our eyes on that we don't have enough time. I'm just ready to get into game.
Oh, you and me both, brother. And as we head into today's game, one thing for certain, everyone's talking about this matchup. Laura's also ready on the arena floor to check in with fans and Skuyemand in our Marriott Bonvoy pregame check-in to get this started.
Thank you so much, Ginny. I'm with Alexandre and Romaric with a beautiful vintage jersey from KC. Do you have any words of encouragement for Vladi today?
Yes, Vladi had to fill up second shoes. Nobody thought he could do it, but no matter what, in the second year of KC in LEC, he got the first LEC title. I mean, it's amazing. No one thought he could do it, but he did it anyway while being the MVP of the final. So life, there is lows and downs, but no matter what, KC fan, we will be there. We will be there.
Alexandre, do you want to add something?
Yeah, great players shows up in great matches, that's all.
You got it. Who do you think is going to be the best player from your team?
I think it's definitely going to be Broken Blade. He's been grinding a lot of champs in solo queue. He's really confident, and I think from what I've seen in his interviews with like other journalists and content creators, he's starting to get confident in his off-meta picks, and I think that's going to be the difference against KC today.
Any champion that you want to see the top father playing today?
Mundo is always very fun.
Who do you think is going to win?
Oh, I think it's going to be a 3-2 for G2, and I hope for a clear top lane.
All right, 3-2 G2.
As well as Fearless Draft, I hope for best of 5 games, so I'm going to say 3-2 G2 as well.
And what's your prediction?
I must say it's a close one. I think KC takes first, but afterwards 3 for G2, and it's 4 games.
What makes you think that you guys are going to win today?
See how many titles we got.
Oh.
It's just facts.
Yeah, just facts, simple facts. What is your prediction then? How many games?
3-0 easy.
Now, simple question. What should the password be after what you're going to do to G2 today?
I think it's going to be like Niski because of course Niski is going to come and show that Cap is a fraud. So
Subski maybe today. Thank you so much. I'm going to join Skumon now for the pre-game interview. Thank you so much for joining me. It's the big day. Actually, everything has been ramping up the whole week, but you guys have been ramping up as well. From the time you guys went back to MSI, there's a lot of improvements actually. Positioning on the map, you and Lebrov working together. What do you identify as the most crucial improvements and maybe the key that you were missing out before?
I mean, I think that we are all like way more aware of like what is our game plan in general, like starting from early game to the mid game, knowing our strength of our team comps and how we want to play the game depending of like what champ we have, what enemy champs they have as well, right? Trying to either like just stop enemy composition to just work well, right? And also I think we did a pretty good job on like vision tracking and vision control, and I think it's been pretty great so far.
Yeah, and it has to come together today. I mean, the whole work you've been doing this year pretty much has to come together today, and there's so much history already between KC and G2, and of course you want to put behind the unfortunate events that happened in winter. Do you feel like you're over it now? Have you overcome that?
Yeah, I mean, for sure, like what's in the past is in the past. I mean, I think it's a bit of a shame that we couldn't play against, we couldn't take a revenge in best of 5 since that final. We only played the best of 3 in spring. And yeah, I mean, I'm just really looking forward for today's games. I think it's going to be a banger match for sure. I think like both teams improve so much compared to like the winter split. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to see what both teams have prepared.
So it's road to Madrid, world spot on the line, and I feel like we all saw the tension rising, even on social media with the fans. Is that something that you felt as a player this week?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I'm not really using like Twitter or anything, so not really. But obviously, like I'm part of G2, so I know what is going on. And yeah, I mean, I know that there is a lot of spice going on these days on social media. So I mean, I think that's cool. You know, that's fine. It has up more like hype coming to the game. And yeah, I mean, as you said, like whoever wins goes to Worlds and Madrid. So like. It's just like really insane match, so I'm looking forward.
Skumon, what is your mantra ahead of today, and do you have any closing thoughts for the fans? We're super hyped for this amazing series.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to take my revenge, obviously, from Winter Split and just show that we are a good team. I don't think we had like the hardest group, to be honest, in this regular season, and I think that KC is like a really strong team, so I just hope that we'll be able to show like a good showing today, and hoping to make all of the G2 Army fans proud, obviously.
All right, well, best of luck. Bonne chance.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup. And we're so much looking forward to the start of the series. So let's send it over to the caster to see what happens when the G2 Army meets the Blue Wall.
Well, we have 5 games, hopefully, to find out exactly what happens when G2 and KC butt heads. I'm Medic, I'm joined by Nymera. Great to have you here. Are you excited?
I am so excited, Berlin. Are you excited?
Let's go as we see the players coming out onto the stage, guided there by their fans. I saw someone saying the lobby password is 123321. Can promise you it's not that.
Not leave it alone, could you, Medic?
It just says it on the screen, man. I just read what I see, you know? Coach is taking the stage as well. A rematch that has been long awaited. We've seen these teams play a few times already this year, but I know G2 will want vindication and vengeance from the winter finals, where KC gave them a bit of a shellacking. KC actually had the upper hand in 3 of the 4 series the 2 teams have played against each other this year.
And let's be honest, G2 are not used to having losing records against anyone. They will want to start getting some ground back on that today. Of course, they got the G2 Army right behind them as well, making some noise in the crowd up there against the Blue Wall. Both of these fan bases turning up in force. We hope that the teams will do just the same.
I just want good chants.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I felt a really good chant here in the LEC arena.
You know that the G2 Army actually has like little hymn books they can, you know, like the football crowds.
Okay.
Yeah,
they take a pew.
I know that they had a chant for every single player at points.
That's cool.
So I'm just saying, we're listening.
I think that like all the chants I've heard from KC fans as well have been amazing.
Fantastic,
so
yeah.
I'm looking forward to see what we can, or to hear, I guess, what we can hear. So we get into draft for game 1. The big questions on the table. Broken Blade versus Kana. Is it going to be a carry top lane matchup, or are we going to see tanks, as we have more traditionally over the last few weeks? the bot lane as well, a key point of focus too. The best AD carries in the league, I think arguably the two best AD carries. I think Super would be putting his name up there as well.
I evo nas ljudi moji, spremni smo za još jedan dan leca, moramo samo zvuk da rešimo, Marence Legendu veliki poz, ti si Mare. Quick mute samo.
Bož.
Sad bi trebalo se čuješ savršeno. Bio si Mankice tih, ali to je do mene bilo.
Ok, super.
Da, sad je savršeno. Danas konačno dobar LOL, konačno kvalitetan LOL. U stvari gledamo seriju koja će da bude jako zanimljiva.
Da, pogotovo posle svakakvih drama koje smo vidjeli, to jest koji su ljudi možda ispratili. Svašta se dešavalo na Twitteru. Da je KC prozvao G2, što im je upao u scream sobe i rekao boga mi već su se, sad ja tu reč ne mogu da kažem u programu, ali već su se uplašili.
Bilo je pitanje da li će igrati Vladi, da li će igrati Niski, kakva je situacija, na kraju bukvalno ništa nisu menjali, sve su ostavili isto. Ajde vidjet ćemo što se pikova tiče također šta će biti.
Daš mi stream samo.
Slučaj, može. Što se da rešiti. Treba bi da vidiš da je sve lagano i meni ovo sus. LeBlanc first pick je jako sus. Mislim, ajde, zna da igra u Orijanu. Možda samo hoće taj matchup.
Može. Popi je pametan pick.
They haven't lost this split at all, so it makes a lot of sense. Where will KC go in response to the
Resetovat ću ti stream na sekund, izvini.
a few times this year.
It's, I mean, in this summer, I think we've had 3-ish games or so. Very rare pick, but let's be honest. If you're going to come into this game with confidence, the form that Caps is on against Vladi, who
da vidimo šta se događa.
know he can be very good, I really think that Caps
Popi verovatno i donekle counter za LeBlanc, tako da želiš to da skineš samo da i protivnici to ne mogu da uzmu.
Ali mislim da li će banovati ili pikovati Real. Mislim da i Real može da bude dosta naporna za LeBlanc.
I mean, usually when you have the Oriana, you do look for that Nocturne, but instead they're going for the Skarner Nocturne, not the best at diving onto a Poppy or onto a LeBlanc, so they switch things up, get themselves a tank in that top side.
Yeah, and the Skarner, I think it's known as the charcoal flame skewer over in China, this combo, the Rumble Skarner. So it's less about playing towards the Oriana, it's playing towards that Rumble instead, where you get that impale into the Flame Splitter and the Equalizer, and we get Broken Blade.
Oh my god.
So we're getting all the flair here from G2. We were wondering
Wow, G2 je baš rekao.
It was against Sion, not exactly sure how it's going to work against the Rumble hit. Tons of changes came through for this pick. Sadly, we don't have Finn here today to break down for us. I'm sure he's screaming into the mic at home somewhere.
Yeah, he's having a whale of a time at home, watching G2 and KC butt heads already in the draft. Like, you look at KC's draft, it's pretty standard. This is what we expect from a 25.17. Maybe the Skarner would be a little bit out of place, but on the other side, G2 just going hell for leather early doors.
If G2 manage to get control of vision, they're going to pop out a
Respekt, žurka im je, navijači uvek volim kad su tako raspoloženi, tako da stvarno
G2 have very good skirmish potential. KC have more team
full respect za njih.
As it stands right now. As we get later into the draft, you can see that G2 wanted to remove some of the safer AD carries, which are less prone to getting one shot by a LeBlanc.
Ne znam, ja bi se malo uplašio da sam KC. Kada vidim G2 koji otvara prvi game drafta, prvi game otvara ovakvu draftu, u fazonu sam vidi. Ovo je onaj G2. Ej, realno dobro su pojentu dali kasteri. Ove godine G2 nije osvojio ništa. Tako da je u stvari dosta velika stvar. Mislim, ti kad pogledaš, G2 stvarno ništa nije osvojio. Bili su drugi konstantno. Što je za G2 kao orgu baš užasno, tako da... Ne znam. Interesantno će mi biti ovo da vidim šta mogu da urade.
Physical damage coming out of the bot side. Kai'Sa stolen away by G2 as well, which makes it even harder for Kalista and for KC to find an AD carry that's suitable here.
do wonder what they're going to pick, which is self-sufficient.
Zeri?
You might have to go towards the core
Korki,
keep, just have
da,
that
Korki.
Valkyrie to dash back. It does give you some early game pressure, which will help you a decent amount. G2, their lanes are actually quite scary on top side. They lock in the Nautilus, take away from Kai'Sa, one of their best pairings, and that'll leave them with more something like the Rel.
Yeah, the Rel will be Lovrov's first time on it this split. G2 have only played 8 games, so it's not like the largest sample size to pick from, but neither of these supports actually bringing out Rel before.
Kledu, Rumble, LeBlanc, oni su baš otišli full agro, sviđa mi se, mnogo mi se sviđa iskreno.
Ako pobede, to će biti, boga mi...
Čuo sad ovo? Game 1, ko pobedi kvalifikuje se na Worlds. To su kasteri rekli. Rekli su ko pobedi Game 1, kvalifikuje ih na Worlds. Verovatno zbog Championship poena ili nečega već. Ne znam ni ja zbog čega.
Šta? Ja ih ništa ne razumem. To. Ja sam mislio da ako pobedi neku seriju, da, to razumem.
Ja sam čuo Game 1 of this series, tako da...
Battered and bruised, black and blue, the samurais taking on the blue wall, being in such loud voice throughout the year, especially after winning Winter Split. KC had a little bit of a downfall going into spring.
Baš da pogledam. Jer to je meni jako čudno šta su oni sad upravo ispričali, ako nije pogrešio.
The question is, will it continue through playoffs? Currently sitting at 8 games in a row. The record held by Fnatic, 22 in a row back in that 18-0 season in...
Jer znam...
Here we go.
Ne znam koje beše u Evropi da ako pobedi bukvalno jedan kao best of 5 kvalifikovat će ih na Worlds, što je ono kao jako čudno, ali...
The guy has a 69.2% win rate on this pick.
Pa iskreno nemam ideje, ali eto, to je info koji smo dobili, tako da...
Level 1 warding patterns, really. You'd like to put a ward down onto each other's raptors. Tends to give you a lot of information midway through the clear, so that ward tends to survive after their jungler's done their first quadrant. Can give you a lot of nice tangential information. And I think that information with the the quick look in towards the enemy raptors and of course the ward put onto red buff is quite important for KC, because when I look at Kled, I look at LeBlanc, I think there's a lot of options potentially for Skumon to just dip into a lane, force flashes, and give a lot of problems towards KC's early lanes.
Well, we don't want to have all the fun by ourselves up here on the caster desk. You guys can be analysts as well if you vote in chat. KC, if you think KC are going to win the series. G2, if you think G2 are going to win the series. We'll bring up the results of the
vote in the chat. Ja sam stavio moj vote pre njih, tako da mi smo bolji.
But I also want to see that, I'm going to be honest, between KC and G2.
It's pretty even here in the arena, actually.
It really is, as Broken Blade trades onto Kana with that bear trap on a rope. He's going to be winning out these early trades. Obviously, the power of Skull allowing you a lot more threat in the lane early on, because even if you dismount, you can then remount and get that health bar back. It's a little bit like Narf going into the Mega Narf form. Effective HP is what I like to call it.
And Rumble really gets strong around the level. Good hook.
Wow, taj hook nije pogodio. Prvi put da igra nije slagala. I pogledaj foru, Caps koristi skin.
Dobro, on ima trenutke. Mislim da on oko Internationala prestane da koristi jer kao faker je, znači onda mora malo ga radi na fakera. Ali onda ovako kad se odvoji malo, sad je realno pred International opet, tako da sad je rekao vraćam se na moje skinove.
Lands the chains there onto Vladi, gets the root. Obviously level 6, where the LeBlanc really comes alive with that mimic, the ability to put 2 chains out, double distort forward as Vladi...
Mislim, jedna stvar kod LeBlanc je u tome što ne može Ignite da ranuje na laneu više. Kao solo queue ti je lakše jer možeš da ga ranuješ u laneu Ignite ukoliko baš želiš da budeš agresivan, da kupiš skillove. Na pro playu bez teleporta teško.
Mislim, i realno na pro playu manje očekuješ da će neko ti zagrifa i da umre 1 na 1, čak i protiv LeBlanc. Mislim, LeBlanc jeste lane bully, ali kao ljudi će samo da respektuju matchup, gubit će 20-30 kripova, kupit će Magic Resist Banshee ili Merx ili šta god i reći će ok, kao sad više nemaš mu ubiješ. Isto kao što smo juče gledali Yeti protiv Viktora, slična situacija, bukvalno.
Da, ono kao...
Viktor respektovo matchup, kupio Healtha i odjednom vidiš Yeti koja ne radi damage više.
Mene interesuje šta G2 radi ako izgube ovaj game. Pošto su uzeli onako nabadački komp, žele da se biju.
Pa ja mislim da su okej, oni su uzeli nabadački, ali su isto ono, realno, cheesy pikovi koji nisu toliko contested, bar neki. Tako da s te strane ko okej su uvek mogu samo normalno da draftuju sljedeći game. Mislim, nije... Mislim da nisu u problemu zašto su ovako draftovali početak.
Misliš malo više šta ono kao mental wise.
Ja mislim da su ko okej, mentalno, mislim su generalno cool, mislim ga chillaju na maks. Mislim da lose ovdje mislim da je previše utjecao njih najiskrenije uopšte. Sad, koji stil igre, šta da li će igrati ono da probaju da stompuju rano opet sljedeći i šta god to je već kako se osjećaju u odnosu na to kako izgube, ako izgube. Ali vidim jednu i drugu opciju. Siguran sam da imaju još cheesy pikova, siguran sam da imaju još načina da izvuku nešto neočekivano, kažem, najgori slučaj samo igraj ono što ja volim da kažem dosadne pikove, ali igraj meta pikove i...
Igraj Viktora.
Mislim, da, ono što znam. Casey je skinuo Korkija, to mi se sviđa, kaži.
Da sam kažem, igrao sam sinoć Doom botove za drugom.
Dobro.
Igrali smo onaj Veigar Zevil.
Dobro.
Znači, nismo uspjeli da pobedimo ni jedno.
A Tumen si igrao?
Ne može. Da, samo smo na dvojici igrali.
To zna da bude problem.
I ja sam igrao isključivo samo seta. Ja igram seta i lokujem seta svaki game.
Ja sam sad vidio izašao nov tek gdje su ubili Veigara tako što su ga povukli u fontanu. Kinezi.
Wow.
Provalili su do onom kao onaj, kad se pojavi Veigar, da je hookable. I onda su ga hookali i set ultali u Rise ulti i onda su ga ubacili u fontanu.
Wow. Ja sam vidio samo ono za Gwen što su radili.
Da.
Lukaps je mrtav. Nije mrtav, wow. Mi smo posljednju partiju što smo igrali, bismo legit pobedili. Znači, legit bismo nas dvojica uspjeli da, ono kao, samo Tumen, da pobedimo. Ali sam ja bio AFK jedno vreme. I bukvalno to što sam bio AFK, što su oni igrali 4 na 5, to nam je izgubilo game donekle, jer nam je ostalo tipa 20 sekundi da dođe Veigar. I mi bismo imali oba Nexus tureta i sve.
Napet je, ali dobro su ga napravili, mislim da je taman. Ono, moguće je, pogotovo ako si full primid, ali nije turbo lako svakako.
Ja čak mislim da je onaj hard teži. Jer nemaš onu krunu i druge iteme one iz arene, imaš samo pojedine iz arene iteme one.
Ta ne znam, iskreno, meni je bio definitivno teži
baš kao Veigar.
Zadnji, da, ali nije ni hard lagan, tako da kažem, mislim su super uveli balans, svaka im čast, iskreno respekt za Riot, napravili su dobar mod.
a wave overall for him in advantage.
And I will say, you know, the gold lead's nothing. Yep. It's nothing there. KC are completely fine if things stay even. What we really want to see from KC is for them to just outlast some of the, you know, the potential scariness in LeBlanc and get towards big team fights later where they can group up, use the AoE.
Vladi odlučio da ide full defanzivno. Što ja mislim da je skroz fair. Ide Seraph, Rod of Ages. On ide Rise of build.
For the second, holding onto the smite for that third. The Grub heals up, but they should get the smite. Hook lands onto LeBrob. Targum is forcing G2 away towards the top side. There's 3 Grubs over to KC.
Easily taken, G2 not contesting, and they're not really that fit to contest in a 5v5. You know, going in down the throat of a shockwave and an equalizer, yeah, that doesn't sound fantastic. Of course, kind of had actually used it before that point, but the theory stands, right? So G2 choose not to contest that. Again, this is not really where they want to fight. KC, if they keep bringing them to objectives, though, that will be a problem in the future.
Yeah, the thing for KC is if you can get a couple of dragons under your belt, you're in a
koji nam je prediction?
Au, 3-2 verovatno, mislim da ovo nema možda ne ode u pi. Ili 3-0 G2 ili 3-2 za KC, možda, ne znam.
Ja sam htio da kažem, ono kao, da te uhvatim i da kažem 3-0 G2.
Pa mislim vidi, jedno od ta dva ja vidim kao okej opciju, šta znam.
One of the most valuable things you have as a jungler is time. Taking Dragon takes a lot of it, so you can understand why they haven't exactly rushed it so far. Especially with bot lanes on the other side of the map, they often be a lot of your DPS.
Right, coming in, LeBron with the shadowing strike, needs to dodge away from the impale, uses the heal for the movement speed, but is slowed up by Yike. LeBron now on the wrong side.
First blood. Čekaj, pa šta radi? Halo? Yike?
Ajoj.
Yike?
Ajoj.
Ali Yike troluje 100%.
Da, jako čudno, iskreno, baš čudna odluka s njegove strane. Baš čudna odluka s njegove strane, samo da se vrati da kill. Jer je veliki problem što Korki u ovom delu partije ne može se meri sa Kai'Som ko razvija Little Tempo. Mislim, ima on ovaj Conqueror, ali i dalje mislim da samo u ovom delu partije Little Tempo samo mnogo jači.
Jako čudan splet okolnosti tu.
Ja mislim, Mato, da ne možeš da bude 3-0 za KC, ali to je bar neko moje mišljenje, nemam pojma. Mislim, mogu da dobiju, ali mislim da je to i dalje ono teško.
Anyone else remember the Vizicachi Poppy way back in the Season 5 promotion? God, that was a long time ago, wasn't it? 10 years ago. What a history we've had here in Europe. Dragon now finally started, G2. Got themselves the LeBlanc pushing in a mid lane. Vladdy does have his flashback now. Maybe you can use that to brawl out against the LeBlanc. Maybe walk his Dave down here if they do want to contest.
Skewmond already has that dragon down to 2,000 HP. Should be an easy enough secure. No real contest there from KC, no real surprise either overall. When we look at the bottom of the scoreboard, you can see it's a sea of red, apart from Kana, who is ahead in that top lane. About 300 gold, his advantage. Hasn't really had to do much, apart from laning, which obviously is a skill in of itself. Puts the equalizer down. Yike is looking for something here. Broken Blade, it's about half that meter built back up. He can pop out his pistol and heal up some more of it from the minions. Skewmon just waits.
Razmišljamo ko odemo u Hyper Late, koliko G2 ima šanse ovdje. Jer nemaju proper tanka u ovom setupu.
And let's be honest, probably don't want to walk in there when around the corners the Orianna with the shockwave, which even though it has a catalyst and a tier behind it, it's still enough to make you think twice. Broken Blade, hang on a second, it's actually, you can probably remount that, but the HP is getting a little bit low to the point where you get a bit worried for him. Should be safe. Kana just trying to throw around his weight a little bit. It's important that he does so. I think they need to get towards the 5v5s later. That is the goal. You can't just seed lane pressure to do that. You need to be on top of these lanes and make sure they don't get advantages for free. BB, of course, he did play this Kled before. He played it into a Scion, which looked like a great matchup for him. We'll have to see how he makes it work. And
charging forward. Kana still has the flash here. No equalizer for him. Skewmon chasing in as well.
A ne daju ga sigurno.
Could go for the Ishtal's impact. sides against it. Just shepherding here. Doesn't really want to show on vision because then the enemy knows exactly where you are and it opens them up for a little bit more. He's currently sitting on that control ward. Will Skumon stay around long enough to protect Broken Blade?
Well, you can see that Caps was actually just dipping off that wave there. Actually, observers, do you mind if we just look towards mid lane and go to KC vision? Because I do have this feeling that Caps is doing stuff like this, because he's just going to keep pushing in and try and go either side of the river. If Caps gets to walk either side of mid, now he's killed this ward, he's probably going to have about a 5-second window where the enemy team just doesn't really know where he's going just yet.
Yeah, and if we switch the vision back to the full vision, you can see exactly what G2 are doing to aid this. Double control wards coming out around that mid lane river. It makes it so much easier for Caps to step in and out of vision. You see it a lot with Twisted Fate, with Rise, with Talia, and obviously with the LeBlanc. What G2 are doing right now.
Što ne može zato što mu treba recall timer. Da haveruje u reku.
Vladdy, no teleport on him, as Caps does have one. We've got a minute before the Rift Herald, so no real fight expected, but there's always a possibility that G2 could take one knowing that they could have a numbers advantage.
Yeah, and we do have Herald in a minute. It's probably going to be the next big thing to fight over. KC have 3 grubs. If they gain that big tower push, don't really need to explain that one, do we? So KC would really like to play around the next objective setup. They're getting towards the point where they can start to force grouped fights. They catch Kalist.
I don't think this is going to really do too much. Just LeBron.
Tiđi mi se kako se kasteri ozbiljili malo, uzet ću obzir koju seriju gledamo. Da, je cool. Jer kao znaju i oni, ovo je sad u stvari, lol. Sad u stvari gledamo na badanje, gledamo dobar game.
Što je zapravo u jednu ruku smešno, jer Giantsi su igrali solidno juče. Nisu samo što je BDS je, mislim, igrao kao Navi.
Da.
I think they're getting towards the point where they do think they can fight now. G2 will have to be aware of that.
You've got a Triforce complete on Kalist as Caps goes in with the chains. It makes it so much harder for you to trade in and to take these fights if your mid laner has already been chunked, and Caps doing exactly what he needs to at this moment. It's a lot of ages on the Orianna. She will be tanky enough to survive through this burst, but she doesn't.
Nekad sam igrao jako puno LeBlanc, kada sam prvi put prešao sa AD Carry-a na mid ali baš nisam posljednjih godina sam nekako skroz prešao da igram te dosadnije čempove. Nekako ne verujem mehanikama svojim više. A? Gdje bacio?
Ček, dobar shockwave. I Labrov je... Ok, nema flash, mislim ga stiže, ima W. Boga mi napit. Road of Ages Orianna Eternal Assaultom, ja sam malo blago u šoku, blago u šoku.
Ovo je prvi put da vidim ovu interakciju. Odoše ljudi. Ali oni su se svi grupisali, njima je tu problem, oni imaju jako puno low range heroja. Oni igraju low range u Korki, Skarner, Orianna, Rumble.
Niski getting involved in the
he's in the base, okay? She's behind again.
Yep, she was definitely behind them, and KC from that will not only take the Riftell, they'll take a Drake. They'll slow the game down, which is exactly what they want. These coordinated team fights are really good for them, although I don't think anyone could have expected the Poppy Impale combination.
You know, end justifies the means. They ended up getting it somewhere. G2, they need a little bit more out of this early game. I'm wondering now what's going to happen now. You do have a slight good lead onto LeBlanc, but it doesn't feel like it's game-changing right now. Real credit to KC, letting this early game, you know, taking the blows where they can, and then waiting till that grouped up fight, playing towards the win conditions. That is actually, it doesn't seem like it's a huge thing all the time, but surviving these lanes and getting through to that fight, that's already an objective secured for them, really.
And getting leads in certain places as well. Kana and Kalist both healthily above.
Idit ćemo na to, možemo i njega da claimamo iskreno, možemo i njega da claimamo.
Had some leads for G2 as well. You know, Skumon and Caps are in the advantage, but Vladdy's getting tankier by the day. Already has that Rod of Ages, 4 stacks on it. Caps doesn't have the burst that he would like. Perhaps later on he can be looking for a slightly squishier target, but then it's really only Rumble and Corki. Corki does have that Valkyrie. Lebrov sneaking in towards this top side, seeing if he can help Caps get on the board. Only sitting at 0-0-1 on this. LeBlanc, he'll dash away. LeBlanc still behind. Skumon waiting here. They'll look for Targamas first. Vladdy now realizes he has to flash away. Magnus still coming out. There's the TP as well. Depth charge used onto Caps. Keep inverted, gets the knockback. And Targamas will sacrifice himself for his mid laner. Good job by the support to mean
Moga mi, ali...
for a little bit longer, but the charge comes in from G2. A good shockwave from Vladdy will catch onto 2.
On sam...
Nemoj.
O, Bibi! O, Bibi, ovo je bilo lepo. I sad će di Argo je zbog Skyla.
A, samo što je mrtav. Je mrtav?
Jeste, možda... Ne mogu njega da ulta, ali...
In the end, a 2-for-1 exchange.
A 2-for-1, G2 getting the slight better end of that, but they overdive a little too far. This player has struggled to get huge value in this game so far. Does manage to use that ult to go beyond the tap, it's not quite onto the target which he wanted.
Ne, ironično mislim da je Galio bio bolji pik od Kleda. Ja mislim da se plaše da Galio će kao biti mnogo više useless late game. U smislu da će biti samo tank.
This time actually gets the disengage value they want, allows them to get the isolated kill. This is the point where they go a little too far though.
Jer Kled kao bruiser će healovati baš ono ozbiljno.
I think it definitely was. If Broken Blade had charged a little bit more towards the tower so Vladdy couldn't dodge it, definitely would have got that kill and probably could have got away from Yike here.
To ja mislim je bio očajan na Rumble ulti.
So Casey able to get one back in response. It's a 200 gold lead for Carmine Corp, but very even between these two teams. Basically 3 grubs and 2 petals.
Jeste, iskreno bio je gigloš. Mislim, ne znam. G2 i dalje nalazi dosta, ali ovaj deo partije trebali bi. Ono što mene brine za njih je kad se ode u Hyper Rage, šta će raditi s ovim pikovima. Jesu oni svako tih pikova kao može da nosi, ali mnogo više u solo queue nego u kompetitivu.
Ej, pogotovo sada kada KC ima ove fit strength. Imaju već 2 Mercury Threada, 3. To će biti još dodatan onaj Magic Shield na Vladiju koji samo neće umreti u LeBlanc nikad.
Making sure that Skumon doesn't have an easy avenue to approach this. Skumon's going to start to walk.
Ovo je gotovo.
Is already gone. Depth charge onto the enemy jungler. Atakan secured.
Očajna rotacija od G2-a. Očajna rotacija.
Take it down and G2 don't have a great answer. They do take the bot turret and they push in a little bit towards mid as well, so they get some tower damage for the objective trade. Any other kind of fights coming through? We're all sticking around on top side.
Šta se dešava? Okej. Han sama. Šta će Han sama u Rambla da radi? Šta će dobro, neći ni... A nema da ono damage.
G2 try and punish KC after the Atakan, but KC are ready. G2 don't get the clean play, and now suddenly Herald into mid lane. This is going to be a double charge potentially coming through from that. KC get a huge advantage. You have crossed that Atakan and then the play afterwards too. We're just saying, you know, the Pels were even. It's gone from 24 from 7 after that point. Even a charge into the bot lane.
Mislim, iznenađujuće puno akcije u ovom matchupu. Ja sam očekivao će biti sporiji game, iskreno. Kad malo bolje razmislim.
Mislio će G2 igrati mnogo agresivnije ovaj game, ali baš nisu.
Ja sam očekivao ovaj draft u game u 4, možda.
Mislim, ima jedna stvar što je sada jako važna za G2, a to je da Caps ima Rabadon već. Mislim, sljedeći put ako se desi ovako, oni neće potrošiti 10 sekundi da ubiju Kalista. On će samo umreti instant.
Burns both his summoners to escape that precarious situation. Caps is trying to get some gold on the side lane as he'll be able to take this top lane tier 1.
G2 will get themselves a decent amount of tower gold on towards Caps LeBlanc. So I think this was pretty easy to see on the scoreboard, folks. We have 2 main characters here. We have a Rumble, who is very, very fed. We also have a Caps LeBlanc with a death cap as well. A fancy hat making him that more scary. We have our heroes and our villains, I suppose, on the other side of it.
I mean, his name is
Blasting Bond, nije imao dovoljno za Lightning Jewel. G2 mora zmajeve da obavezno da uzme.
Dobar ult. Okej, ult. A je Han sama.
Han sama je samo mrtav. Kad nema flash. Cut?
Oni su doomed, Skumond je... A mislim, ne je mrtav, da li nije, možda istrči s popi, ali dalje ništa ne može da uredi da impaktuje game.
A free ticket away for Skumond here. He can dash onto you and then flash over the shockwave if it comes out. Vladdy does get the slow with the dissonance, and that will be enough to spell the end of the poppy.
Mislim da je Kled najgluplji. Da je Kled čudan pik u ovome. Ja mislim da su uzeli Galija da bi...
Smeće net, klasika. A vada će brzo se reši.
Their team comp strengths. I'm worried that they're taking too many grouped up fights. They need to find a way to isolate people.
League at the moment is very grouped up generally though. You want to go for those dragons, you want to go for the grubs, for the herald, for the artican. We'll see this again. G2 just want to get out as soon as they get that objective.
As soon as the equalizer goes down, you realize you're playing at such a HP deficit. You're probably retreating anyway, and they just try and get out with as few losses as they can.
Ok, ja se nadam da se čujemo sad.
Umro.
Sorry, meni je net zalagovo opet. Mislim, kontaktirao sam ih, ali će trebati neki dan da mi poprave što god je problem, tako da malo unlucky, ali bože moj.
Sve okej, sve okej.
But when he does, he is pretty damn impressive. 28-9 on it, LEC all time, a 76% win rate.
Crazy.
Biće 28-10 nakon ovog gejma, nažalost. Moj prediction se neće ostvariti.
Yeah, pretty ludicrous. But here he is in the bottom of a hole, trying to dig his way out on the LeBlanc.
Kako misliš da Evropa ove godine ulazi na Worlds? Uzet ću obzir da gledamo još malo Worlds, da gledamo dve ekipe koje će realno igrati Worlds, jedna i druga. Kako ti se čine kad gledaš ovako međusobno? Misliš da ima neke nade ili mislim kao, kad kažem nade, ne mislim nade da osvojimo Worlds, mislim kao nade da bude neki upset, ono neki game ili top 8, ne znam nija, tako nešto.
Mogu da vidim da jedan od timova ode u top 8. I da mogu da vidim tipa 2 upseta, mislim kao jednog u Fanatiku i drugi kao da je neko pobedi. Šalim se, da, kao mogu da vidim 2 serije da kao malo upsetujemo. Lepping Gage samo nemaju apsolutno 0 damage-a, Han samo je leteo turec da bude ultimate od Nautilusa, bravo, svaka čast. Svaka čast, bravo! Ajmo 1-0. Jao, Han sama je takav inter teški, znači... Ja mislim da je on iskreno veći inter nego humanoid. Iskreno mislim da on krade pare G2 već 2 godine.
Han sama?
Da.
Sad ne znam, mislim da ima dobre sezone, ja ne bi se složio, ali fair, okej, mislim. Pazi, call-outovo si humanoide i benchovali su ga, tako da... Ko zna šta će biti sad nakon što si call-outovo Han samu? Ja mislim da je Han sama sa Mikijem izgledao neverovatno, a mislim da Ade Carrya dosta definiše kakav mu je support, tako da... Daleko od toga da sad igra dobro, ali kao nemam pojma. Klasičan Ade Carry krivi supporta uvek, to je čak i kad on ne igra.
To je fair, to je fair, to je fair.
Maybe just over, just to the back of the wolf pit, maybe play around there. Getting CC'd under there just meant his team fight was completely over. Great response from KC on the defense.
And now G2 staring down their first defeat of summer. I think the question is as to which group was
su igrali protiv timova koji su ništa. Mislim jedino koji, ali i koji se donekle raspada iz nekog razloga.
Vidjet ćemo šta će oni moći da urade. Mislim, gledamo sutra protiv Fanatika, tako da će biti giga dobra serija.
No, this is like the overcooked level when you have to throw things between the 2 bits of the balloon. Yeah, this is maybe a little bit of a an awkward one. But yet they needed a larger laning lead. They needed earlier game lead, really. They've not really been able to get that. And you can see KC have just stood strong, taken the beating where they could in the early game. Came out pretty okay from it, actually. Groups up. G2, their power of their champions really diminished after that point. Dragon spawning now. G2, I suppose, could look towards some kind of freak steal, look towards Soul later. KC aren't going to easily give that to them.
Samo su dum, ja mislim ovdje, ne vidim kako će išta moći da urade bukvalno.
Šta Haps da uradi? Lele, lele.
KC are doing their due diligence really well, making sure that even if they're stepping past their own jungle, they have
Ovaj kolektor na Korkiju se baš javlja ponekad.
Ne znam da se izvalio, baš su počeli su skoro da buildaju samo letality iteme i kolektore više i voltaike više i kao generalnost mnogo više letality itema vidimo u trenutnoj meti. Mada mislim realno gledano što s druge strane nema tenka i Poppy je otišla na Sander i ona nije ono pure tank kao što to obično zna da bude.
KC are beginning to collapse. Cap's going to lead them on a merry chase, just as LeBlanc can do. I expect KC will eventually call off going for this fight.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to chase him down, but you can see G2, they're all about the smoke and mirrors, and yeah, it's either that or a teleport out. Choosing the teleport.
Vladdy!
Ja bacio kuglu na pogrešnu stranu, no dobro.
TP out from Caps. He will get to safety, but now Vladdy even ahead of Caps in terms of gold. Since that death cap, we haven't seen as much impact as Caps would like. KC across the board having an absolute...
Ne može da ima impact kada protivnik ima upgradeovane Mercury i Rod of Ages Seraph. Ali ajde to, problem je još veći u tome što Kork ima 2 itema više od Kai'Sa.
From the Baron now too to get this into a point where G2 are completely reduced to smoke and mirrors. No one's been able to do that this split. G2 undefeated so far throughout that group stage, now coming through into playoffs. We're expecting, okay, well G2, they're the team which everyone is calling favorites right now. Everything's looking very tense.
Sljedeći fight će bude Kalis koji slučajno krituje LeBlanc i ubije od 100 do 0. Mislim slučajno, 50-50, ali ubija od 100, znači onako krituje Capsa. To je to. Bukvalno samo to je to. S ovim itemima. Ja legitimno mislim da ako baci ulti u prazno i pogodi krit sa Shin prokom da ga ubija. Kaj ti njegov damage? Ne siguran da ko ima armor. Nema, gotovo je. Kalist sam vina ovaj game sad. Znači nemaš Korki dobije toliko itema. Kaj se ide na budget build i opet ima manje itema od Korkija. Mislim, nema tu...
KC know that Caps is not here, the TP being invested by Vladdy to make sure that he stops that tier 2 from falling.
No, sad da, mislim sad KC zna da imaju lead i sad su u fazonu daj samo da pobedimo. Nema razloga da bacimo game, pogotovo u LeBlancu gleda i ostale gluposti koje su jako snowball heavy.
God, just look at all of these leads coming through from KC now. After such a dominant power play, we've got 3,000 on bot lane, which has actually somehow eclipsed the top lane lead as well. And even jungle has got a significant one there, over 1,000. You know, the Infinity Edge is built up for the core key. Normally you'd say the Kai'Sa massively outvalues the core key in the current meta at some stage in the game. This has not been the case here. You see Kalista even
went igrati agresivnije early game sa ovakvim team kompom.
Does flash to stop the ultimate. Does end up leading to getting him killed, but whatever, extended 1-for-1. You are a support, you are allowed to use your HP liberally.
Yeah, and forces skew on low as well, which is great for the oncoming push towards this tower. I'll take a support for a top laner every day of the week. Like, if you're Targamas, you are very happy with the way that trade has gone. Hansama just finishing up his 3rd item where there were 4 on Kalist. It's a terminus for Hansama, but maybe end of the road for G2.
Uj, Labrov.
In this game,
Labrov je...
Caps jumping onto Kalist will land the chains, but doesn't get much more, and you can see an auto with that Trinity was enough to take Caps down to about 500 HP. The dive in with the killing instinct onto Vladdy, but he's so tanky. Broken Blade now.
I ne može da nastavi Hansama da će ga ultovati samo.
Will not let him escape. Burns him up in the jungle. KC are going to have to make a decision. Will they go for the Trinity? 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 Will they go for the T
Dobro, da, G2, mislim, G2 kao nije isto što je bio i ranije, što je efekt, ali dosta stvari se promenilo od ono golden days za G2-a, realno.
Nemoj damage-a. Ok, imaju damage-a. Mislim, iskreno, Skumon, Caps, Labrov su ok ovaj game. Ova druga dvojica ne rade ništa. Mislim, BB je uzeo, ne znam, nije neki čudni counterpick koji bolje da je uzeo Galija, iskreno. Kao znamo da Galiju funkcioniše.
Ovo ruku na srce, mislim da je ovaj game malo unplayable za Hansanu sad isto. Ima i toga.
A sad je gotovo.
Šti više tu pressure-a nikakvog, ajde si full AP pa da stojiš preko pola mape i da polivaš, ali ovako...
A nemaju damage-a jednostavno, fali im brdo damage-a. Kao sve ovo super je, dobar je engage, sve je okej, samo što... Yeti još je uzeo Soul, a ne nije Soul.
And so will the last beat of his heart. Broken Blade down. KC pushing forward. Equalizer just clips Hansama.
Ću ga ubiti Hansama, neće.
Just to heal him up at a TP behind. Can Skumon defend Hansama here? Targamas, death charge.
Outplayo ga. I Skumon priđe svaki slučaj da i njega knock-up.
Tries to get another chains, but it's only onto Yeti, doesn't even get through his shield. KC just marching through the base at this point.
Okej, boga mi KC, da, 34 minuta, malo kao duže potrajao game, ali... Iskreno, KC ih je prespenkovo ovdje, neću lagati.
Cap's trying to do everything he can to find anything out of this game, but he'll lose his life at the end of it. The blue wall stands tall as KC go on.
Ja da čekam dan kada ovi neki igrači izađu iz leca, znači ne mogu da dočekam dan kada se to desi. Mislim da je G2 tako propao u poređenju s onim što je bio ranije i da neki igrači su previše u G2 dugo.
Pazi, istina, ali ja bih dodao prvo što odemo na pauzu, moramo pohvalimo i KC i Koi.
Da,
lepo su step upovali kao orge, mislim, pre ti je bilo samo G2 Fnatic i G2 Fnatic, sad u stvari kao imaju i drugi orge, bar neke, imaju neku priču, ne možemo da kažemo da su kao ono, useless.
Da, slažem se potpuno. Mislim da je pogotovo Koi, ja mislim da su od samog početka imali vrlo dobar način i na koji su sastavljali ekipu. Bez obzira što su rezultati bili onako gore dole, mislim imali su i kad su bili Mad Lions i osvajali su Lets i išli su na Worlds. Čak i ono bilo momenta da delo je kao da neće ništa uraditi, onda odu na Worlds svakako. Kao da okej, njihov rezultat na Worldsu je malo druga priča, ali sa druge strane što ti kažeš, KC ušli su, bili su loši, sad imaju ekipu sasvim solidno.
Jeste, tako da eto, mislim vidjet ćemo svakako šta će još moći da uradi i sljedeće godine, jer nakon ovog splita očigledno dolaze ti najveći roster swapovi, najveći upseti, kikovi, svega i svačega, tako da bilo kako bilo je pauzica, imamo 11 minuta, otprilike nakon toga se vraćamo nazad. Game broj 2 ove serije, ovo jeste best of 5, tako da eto, ostanite s nama, tu smo za 11 minuta i vraćamo se u game 2.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Join the WhatsApp! Join the WhatsApp! Have you joined the WhatsApp? You should join the WhatsApp! Join the WhatsApp!
We're now approaching the final pick, and what a ride it's been.
A moment of hesitation, but we're getting closer to the game changer, and what a legendary journey we've been on.
I mean, there's so many excellent options, but one of them has to be a perfect fit.
Oh, they're about to lock in.
Oh, what a pick!
What a way to close things out.
Join Marriott Bonvoy for a chance to claim a free Hextech chest and key. Marriott Bonvoy, a check-in at every checkpoint.
Want to level up beyond the Rift? Express like a legend and find your fastest server in one tap. Express in game without ISP throttling. Express and shield yourself from DDoS attacks. Express and choose the VPN trusted by gamers everywhere. Express VPN. Experience gaming the Express way. Fast, stable, competitive. It's time to Express. Scan to start your 14-day free trial. Subscribe to unlock free Hextech chests and keys.
I'm multi. Open or flash. Open or flash. Go back. Hello?
Yeah, I can look.
I speed you.
Okay. Look at now.
I'm okay, that's well.
Kill.
Look Poppy too.
Yeah, you got back, okay?
I can seal you, you're fine. Look Poppy, I'm looking Poppy, okay?
I can't. It's on you. We got mid tower.
Yes. I'm fine. I have flash in one.
Look inside. Guys. Wait. Go on us.
Nothing beats a G2 holiday! They did it!
What are these fanboys?
Welcome back to the LEC, where KC finds themselves 1-0 lead against G2 in this best of 5 for the Summer Split Finals, but also Worlds. I mean, this was a great performance from KC coming into this, but all things started off a little bit wonky with the draft.
Yeah, it was surprising to see, well, obviously it was surprising to see KC pull off such a great performance, but at the same time, I wasn't really expecting this from G2 all the way from game 1, where you decide to overcook like this, because as you can see on the screen, you have the LeBlanc, you have Poppy, and you have the Kled as your first three, and all of these were picked as counter picks. Like, that's the logic. It just felt like it's one of those situations where everyone is happy. Okay, what do you want to play 1v1? You're happy with this matchup? Cool. All three got it. But I really felt like that leading up to the rest of the draft, it wasn't really savable because you ended up in this position where you have winning lanes, but then your team fights are just not up to par to the powerhouse that KC managed to draft.
But this was something we were talking about even coming into it, was like, hang on, G2 are picking red. Because they came in at the higher seed, they would have had the choice, and they decided to go with the red side. We were kind of like, well, what are they cooking? And it felt like a very odd conclusion to it. Because as Odo was saying, you're kind of playing this 1-3-1. Sure, you have some advantages that you're trying to play through, but it never felt like they really got going. And I kind of have to give a shout out to BB as well on this one, because he comes in with the Kled as an answer here into the Rumble, and it just never really got going. Kana did a really nice choice at level 6 where he faked a reset, ulted the wave, and then kind of got this tempo advantage and just started to move all around the map and just prevented BB from really finding any success here.
Yeah, the thing as well that you really want to hear as G2, Odo specifically, is to get that early advantage and be able to snowball it so you can get picks.
Exactly, and that's what I felt like you didn't really manage to get it, because if you can bring up the gold, this is from KC's point of view. So realistically, the only people that got a lead from G2 side was Caps and Skewmont. It really felt like the main enabler for this comp should have been, the bot lane and BB. And I really felt like going into at 14, at 15, when your team comp really wants to go for this sort of, pick comps right before objectives, catch people when they rotate in the jungle, the main tools that were supposed to give you prior to find these picks just weren't enabled.
Yeah, and we saw that at the 18-minute mark where they went for this dive on the top lane and overforced to try and make something happen. They're like, oh, Kana doesn't have TP. Maybe we can find this moment to try and go for this dive, but it never really came to fruition. And you could already see it was desperation then.
And this replay is just straight after that. This just really shows that even though G2 finds this sort of 4v5 team fight where Kana is just so far, they find this pick, but at the same time, look how hard it is for them to just manage to pick up a target, because all you have is single target damage dealers. You just need to have immaculate target selection to be able to clutch this team fight, while at the same time KC, they just need to be together and just sit as a ball.
Yeah, and it felt like, you look at the guy in the mosh pit just going in, swinging his arms, Bart Simpson style going in, hoping they could beat someone, and then it's just KC kind of going, well, yeah, we kind of know what we're doing here. We're going to know how to operate.
But it's actually really interesting because you're talking about you need to have immaculate target selection, which I feel like G2 had, because Caps immediately blows up Kalisz. That's the AD carry out of the fight. But even though they had that, they were still not able to translate that into a win.
And that's just because KC's team comp is just so strong. Is this just, meatball meta style of team comp where all you have to do, you have so many more different threats. Sure, usually the LeBlanc wants to blow up the EDC, but at the same time you have the Rumble, you have the Orianna, you have the Scanner. These tanks or these big characters, they still do a lot of damage, and it's not just about one MVP of the game, which would be Kalisz in this case, because he's the ADC, but you have everyone else ready to chime in and just leave a big impact on the fight.
Yeah, so for me then the question here is, Rob, coming into the next game, because G2 once again is going for that red side, are we expecting adaptations in the draft, or do we think there is a larger issue at hand?
No, I think they will go back to basics here. I know like the Annie was banned away, but I'd rather see them just go back to, hey, we can take things like the Talia, we can have strong drafts we can play through, strong lanes that we can play through, and just play towards what has been the success for G2 of finding early game picks like they did in the mid lane, and then just snowballing that into big team fights.
I would also just limit the amount of counter picks you get, or like the sort of funny picks, up to like one, because this game you had two. You had Caps with the LeBlanc, which was the MVP of the game in that sense for them, because you pick it so early and you make the team comp all around it. Just make a clear identity for your team comp. If you want to pick for something that is going to be the 1v1 strong character that is going to win you the game, don't make more people in that role.
Yeah, I mean, the draft for G2 not necessarily hitting the mark, but also really good from KC that they were able to punish the mistakes coming out from G2 and being able to show us that they have improved over this last 2 weeks from a break. But can G2 actually turn it around, or will KC continue the sweep? Lore is on the stage with KC Niski ahead of our next series to find out what he has to say.
Super convincing game one on the side of KC here for game one, and I have Niski with me, of course. Any takes on whatever your team did just now?
I mean, I'm happy that they played very confident, right? I mean, it's been a while since we didn't play G2, and I think game one in a best of 5 is very, very important, so I'm glad we started well, yeah.
Are we going to have Subski at any points?
Not on me to decide.
All right, we'll see about that. Thank you so much. I'll let you warm the bench then for now, and casters, let's get ready for game 2.
Great to hear from Niski. Obviously, we'll see if he comes in. I'm going to say after game one performance, possibly not. KC will be pretty happy with how things went in that game one. I'm still Medic. I'm still joined by Nymira. We are here for League of Legends. I didn't know we were going to be on caster. I do on the camera. I do actually have a nice jacket that matches your color scheme a lot better. Great. But thanks, I didn't know we were going to be on camera.
I thought we had, you know, that whole juxtaposition thing of wow, light and darkness.
Oh yes. We are, have you seen Wednesday?
I saw the first season.
You're Wednesday
many years ago.
And I'm whoever the other person is. I can't remember her name. Anyway, League of Legends is happening, guys. We're going to get into draft in just a moment's time as KC are
Wednesday
on
the blue side. Thursday then instead.
Yes, I'll be Thursday.
And it's Monday. Wait, no, it's not Sunday.
It's Sunday today. It's
Great start,
Friday first, then Saturday, Sunday.
Perfect. Cool.
So
right.
KC on the blue side,
please?
G2 on the red, who they elected to be on the red side again. It's the Annie and the Pantheon bans once again. Varus and Yunara taken away by G2. There's the Talia ban, there's the Azir ban. In a second, you have to assume. There we go. So, where are we going, G2? Because KC, loved your draft, played it well, good job, 10 out of 10. G2, like 2 out of 10 at most probably. Wukong is the first pick here for KC. G2, you know, you have a few answers to this. Obviously, the Poppy now taken off the board makes it a little bit trickier for you, but you can just look for your own engage. You can look for a Xin Xiao, you can look for a Vi, you can look for a Maokai as well if you want to just try and create control over more of the space of the map.
Always a chance of something a little bit wild out there too. G2 have been cooking. Now, I will agree with Odo a bit here, actually. Perhaps you have a quota, the amount of crazy you do. Gonna hover over this Victor, lock it in, actually. I suppose there is a takeaway from Vladdy. I wonder if G2 think, okay, all right, well, Orianna's gone. Perhaps if we take the Victor, we're starting to cut into Vladdy's comfort pool, which has been something which, you know, we've questioned a little bit from him, that actually his mage plays look good. Outside of that, has he looked a little bit more susceptible, potentially? He still has stuff like the Talia. Well, no, he doesn't. The Talia's banned, so he doesn't have that one.
Yeah, doesn't have the Talia, doesn't have this, the Azir. Could go down to something like a Yone, but you are missing a bit of AP topside. Like Yone with a Rumble or Yone with an AP jungle would make a lot of sense. Xin Xiao is the second pick for G2, so it's kind of that jungle answer we were talking about.
New splash off.
With a new splash. Yeah, I don't like the fact his Crescent Guard is blue, because it always makes me think he's being KL altered.
Ah, wait, if it's blue, doesn't that make it less KL because it's golden?
Well, some KL skins are blue, but usually Crescent Guard is gold.
Okay, that's different.
And Akali, okay. I mean, I remember the Vladdy learned from Zeka, times when he was...
Evo me nazad, bacim lagani enmute, moram sam samo traku da podesim. Ali sad ćemo da vidimo šta se događa.
I like what I'm seeing from KC, although the Akali is always a bit of a curveball.
It is. You now have triple in your face threats against the Victor.
Mareta i onda moram samo da odem afaka na 20 sekundi da otvorim vrata ulazna, tako da Mare, solo si 23 sekundi.
Okej. Pozdrav. Ćemo gledamo game bro 2. Viktor, to je ono, znači ipak idu na taj neki standardan, prošli put su imali game 8 Fearless draft protiv game 1 Fearless draft i plus dali su Kani Rambla iz nekog razloga. Ali dobro, ovoga puta imamo malo drugačiju priču. Vlad igra Kali, što je prilično cool.
Possibility, especially with Corki off the board now. We have the Ambassador getting taken away from Kana. No surprises there. I think best player in game 1.
Evo mene.
Pretty unanimously.
Zdravo. Ko je bio na vratima? Trebaju Klara i Lui da dođu, a moji spavaju, tako da ne bi oni ušli jedno pola sata dok ja otvorim vrat.
Je rekao došao neko iz Riota. Kaže, čuli smo da je onaj tvoj komentator nešto pričao za G2.
Taman posla. Ja sam rekao da G2 svako neće izgubiti 3-0. Tako da ja chillam. Ne verujem u 3-0, zaista.
Da li je Broken Blade naučio da igra meta pikove, mene samo interesuje.
Pa mislim,
seeing that from G2, but then again, would be quite nice to have AD carry counterpick to a certain level 2, helps you with the 2v2.
Iskreno ne znam. Ja nekako, kad vidim da neko uzme Bibija, samo pitam sebe zašto bi ikad dao Bibiju da igra meta pick. Isto kao i Adam. Neko verujem da su oni ti koji... Šta znam, ako već ono, ne znam, cheezaš, ima mi smisla da daš Bibiju da igra cheese, ovako ko daš Bibiju da igra non-cheese, imaš 51 top lanera u RLO koji možda radi isto, možda i bolje od Bibija u toj situaciji.
Okay, alright. Now that Aurora very likely blind pick towards that top side and kind of happy to do so. You lock in that Cassandre and it's not a great time against the Aurora, but you're in this position where you need to play a disengaged tank for your team, buy your backline a bit of space. Cassandre charging up that W can be a bulwark between your team and the enemy team's divers. Very different kind of comp from KC this time and from G2 as well. G2, they are the full team fight team now. They have scaling, they have range, and they've got 3 frontliners to try and keep this massive dive composition from KC away from them. It's going to be hard. Wukong, Aurora, Akali, the Rakan, all of them have great ways to get into your backline. And as you were saying, potential of even something like a buffed Hexplate on the Zeri could be joining them as well. KC on the aggressive diving side of the coin this time.
And the KC fans in louder voice here in the arena as well, unsurprisingly, with the 1-0 lead.
Yeah, we wanted some chance. Where are you, G2 Army?
Like KC, both teams were chanting a lot during the game, and then the G2 section got quite quiet.
Kako je Vladi radio s niskim onda 2-0.
I'm sure they will rise in voice once again as we see the coaches bump fists there, and we get ready for game 2 of this match of the week. A best of 5, not only for a spot in Madrid, but also for a spot in Worlds over in China later on. I think a lot of people surprised by the fact KC won game 1. I saw quite a few people expecting a G2 3-0, but KC proved that they are here not just to play, but to dominate.
Yeah, there's something cool about bringing down a team to earth and making them really respect you. KC really did that in game 1. Now it's G2's turn to bring back some of that respect to them. Win streak broken. Start again from 0.
Yeah, 8 nowhere near as impressive as some of the numbers we were talking about earlier, but for G2, it's the next step up on the road. Both the support's going to meet up here in the top lane. Looking for a bit of control. Obviously, Aurora having the ranged matchup into the Cassandre wants control of that second bush. You see the wards coming in. Canon will have a lot of control.
Evo i Sui smo dobili. Sui nisam očekivao.
And take a few of those burst fire shots and then just walk his way down towards bot lane. Minions yet to spawn, so Cap should be fine to recall and then work his way back towards mid in time. Ooh, SK Telecom T1 said Victor. I wonder if it was the real one. I doubt it.
You know, one of my favorite things I see on Twitch is people gifting subs to Faker to your channel. It's like, oh, Faker's sub to my channel, guys.
I'm a big deal, guys. That's what happens. But yes, so early game.
Moram streamati na Twitchu da mi se Faker sabuje na Twitch.
Ima. Može.
Wow, that was the crowd in Paris as well. Also 2014. Remember the Pantheon?
Ili samo da napravim Twitch account koji se zove Real Faker i da budem subova na sve kanale da mi svi giftaju. To je plan B.
Mislim, nije nužno loš plan.
Pa ja mislim.
And it was actually quite fun to watch. It was enjoyable. So you should catch up on that if you can. Although I'm sure actually it was Lost Return is playing in the final, so I'm sure a lot of people were watching it anyway.
Let's be honest, if you know about it, you probably watched it.
True. So, early doors, what are we looking at? We're looking at Kana getting the push in the top lane. Caps with his range advantage should be able to harass down Vladdy. You can see Vladdy already half HP using that Twilight Shroud just to try and get towards these minions. But if Caps plays this lane well, he can just keep that wave a little bit out of Akali's reach.
Yeah, he's going to look for the bounce back and then a reset most likely, because he started with the Q, he's not going to have wave control the early on, whereas Akali...
Boga mi Caps treba, ja mislim da se vrati da igra bez skinova.
Ma ja mislim da samo problem sa Capsom je što je on je AD igrač. I kad god igra mage'eve, mislim ima on trenutke da mu izgledaju ok mage'evi, ali Nekako mislim da je Cubs najdominantniji bio kad je ono bio Korki, Tristana, Lucian, mid meta. Tu je stvarno pravio najveću razliku u svim evropskim, od svih evropskih midlanera, tu je bio definitivno najbolji.
To jeste. Ne mislim da je njegova Syndra jako dobra. Samo što se Syndra baš nešto slabo igra.
Syndra opala je iz meta odavno. Mislim odavno u smislu, ne znam, baš je specifičan pik. Mislim da ima mesto u meti, ali mislim da moraš da nađeš late game skill negde drugde, inače ništa nisi uradio.
And KC, even when we had our questions about them from the group stage, one thing we said is Canner is damn good at League of Legends still. Canner is still Canner. There were some issues potentially with the rest of the team.
Nije Canner, Canner. Canner.
For a while, a little disconnected. But Canner was looking fantastic. He now has a nasty winning matchup in this top side. Broken Blade elected into it. It's a bit of a begrudging one where you say, look, okay, I've got to be a tank later on. I'll just try and survive how I can. He's going to soak up this wave at tower best he can, and then his job is to peel for the team later. Very different to the Kled from the last game where he was meant to be getting leads and skirmishing well. Obviously that didn't work out well. The danger here now is you've given Kana a winning matchup. That's not typically how I see teams winning against KC.
Yeah, when Kana gets ahead, KC tend to win the game. Targan was here looking for that gleaming quote.
Can't quite find it, but KC uglavnom
about a 400 gold lead and all of that sits on the shoulders.
Pronunciation aside,
See, for the moment, Hansama and
ovaj put malo više balansiran draft. Ovaj put možemo da pričamo da ovo može otići na bilo koju stranu, da može se dogodi šta god, da i u Hyperlate-u obe ekipe se pitaju. Što mislim da je onako cool za G2 jer ne igraju pod pritiskom koliko prošli game. Imao si LeBlanc, a gledati si mora završiš game u 20 minuta.
I have to say, I tend to follow in the Doomby school of thought, where he's basically said, look, Victor, if you go towards a lost chapter build...
Ja, ma to ne, mislim da ima neke veze sa UK izgovorom. Meni je uvek bilo smiješno, zašto mi uvek zapadalo za uši kad sam čuo Tristanar, Orianar, kao šta će ti Oriana je, nije Orianar. Niko Orianu ne zove Orianar. I realno. Ali ima neke veze sa tim kako oni izgovaraju neke reči, tako da nije kao jedan caster koji ne zna, već ne čujete Mareta, Mare reci nešto. Mislim da čujete Mareta. Sakrine, tebi sve ti nešto ne radi danas, ja ne znam da li do tebe možda. Prvo ti zvuk kasti, sad ne čuješ Mareta, a Mare se čuje, ne znam šta se događa, čoveč.
I was trying to leave it as subtle. No subtlety, man. I'm used to Vetty just not getting any of my puns, so I have to be explicit.
Okay, now you've given me a challenge. That's the problem. You shouldn't have done that in such an important series.
Okej, Sakrine, fair. Dobro, redu. Što sam ja u fazonu kao pričao, sam siguran da sve radi kako bi trebalo da radi. Sam namestio juče Mareta dobro.
Yiko on a control ward here, but shadowing makes it easy enough for Caps to get that wave crashing in. They're going to pass down towards the bottom side, towards that Drake. Kana still winning out pretty effectively in this top lane matchup. Might just be a Scuttle Crab take. Caps escorted to the honey fruit. He'll gobble those down.
Just seeing that random damage against top side matchup, people really don't respect the passive damage of the Aurora in this kind of matchup.
So strong.
Why did this random bit of damage come through from North attack? You get that 3 hits and just a load of random bits of percent HP comes through. I'm set by the Leandries and potentially a Riftmaker later on as well. It's so disgusting. You can see how much damage has been done.
Wow, jungleri su radili 0 damage. Šta rade ovi jungleri?
Might actually see a contest around this dragon now. Casey got quite intent on approaching.
You can see Vladdy's quite a way away, currently only near the red buff. Hansama forced back a little bit, puts some control ward down in the tribush.
Uzet će mu Yike. Može neće. Hoće i dalje, gle. Krade. To sam rekao. Ovo će biti 3-0. Znači ja već sad vidim 3-0.
To su ti shot callovi. Ne bi oni nama to ukrali.
Evo, gotovo je. Znači, moj prediction je bio u pravu sam bio, 3-0 je, ali za pogrešan tim.
Fair.
Ja želim da G2 ispadne iz play-off, iskreno. Ja mislim da će samo onda vidjeti da se zameni tim. Mislim da treba da se očisti kuća. Mislim da je ovo užasno.
Dobro, mislim... Ne znam, G2 mislim da i dalje ima dosta da remake-a za sljedeću godinu.
For G2, like they do scale into this game. Victor, Sivir scale really well. You're gonna have a frontline Cassante, but now we get to see how good KC can be with one of those early game leads because they haven't had them that often in summer.
Rob started up. Do KC feel like they can contest this again? First one goes down to G2.
I think Skumon smiting the first one kind of implies, hey, we don't really want to contest the next two. They'll pull this last one out, but Yike's going to be able to take them both. And the little grubs actually, as Mites stopping the recall from Skumon. Does hit level 7 now, doesn't have his smite, whereas Yike has held on to his. G2, this is cinema. Like, they're just watching. They have gone to the movies, they bought a ticket, they bought the popcorn, and they're just spectating.
To se zove doing a navi, kolege kasteri, pomoći ćemo mi.
Pops that unbreakable will. Arcane Storm coming out as well, but not really much happening there for G2. Lebrob went for the engage with the Hex Flash. Skumon's going to dash away. Targamas dancing in with that grand entrance. Cap still looking for more. Remember, no ultimates available now as Broken Blade is just killing off Kana. Kana has no ult, has to flash BB on the chase going all out. Oh! Can't quite land the Intofos.
Zamalo. Mislim, ja sam bio dežuran hejter i Labrova i Skumon da su došli u G2 ove godine, iskreno. Mislim da je Han sama toko bio bolji. S Mikem duše, mislim da je Miki jedan najbolji, kako ne i najbolji support u Evropi, tako da ima i toga.
God, Vladi šta je upravo uradio. 3-1 za G2, okej, gotovo je.
Ti bacaš onaj Simpson meme gdje uđeš bum pa promeni dres, ali samo jako brzo ideš tamo vamo. Imao je Labrov, imao je i imao je i Skumon svoje neke trenutke na Mundu, na Pantheonu. Ne kažem da nisu, jesu definitivno, ali... Mislim da za to što ekipa G2-a očekuje od sebe i što želi da radi, mislim da to nije nivo G2-a. Mislim da je to nivo Giantsa, fazom. Kao nivo ekipe koja će da napravi upset s vremena na vreme, ali... Neće biti konstantno najbolji. Tu su mi negde Skumon i Labrov, najiskrenije. Opet kažem, Glaze aside, ove godine sam više video boljih playeva od Hungry Pande nego od Labrova, a Labrov igra u G2. Kao realno gledano, mislim. Hungry Panda je u finalu na Niku uradio više nego Labrov za ceo split.
Ne znam li da li Labrov igra Niku u tome, stvar, ne mogu sjetim da li igra.
Imao je jedan game da izgleda okej, ali... Ko igra u G2 ima jedan game da izgleda okej, nije baš rečenica koju želiš da izgovorim.
Caps je upgradeovao Q, ja mislim prvo.
Mislim što...
Wow, what? Dakle, okej, razumijem da hoćeš u Akali, ali i dalje mislim da upgradeuješ samo E. Bukvalno ti je lakše, samo clearuješ wave i ne možeš da se fighteš s njom.
Kana has a 23 CS advantage, and with it 700 gold in his back pocket. We saw Broken Blade almost able to win one trade, but unable to do so in the end as KC set up towards this Drake. Get a little bit of vision into the G2 jungle, but G2 actually have a lot of vision behind them. You can see how many wards. Yeah, thank you so much, observers, for pointing that out. Flank wards abound, but only Caps with a TP.
I don't think the flanking victor is necessarily what you're angling for with this team comp. It just gives you advanced notice. That's the big thing which you're looking for.
Yeah, flanking victor is the deadest rather than the deadliest. That's right.
Oh, such a way with words.
Thank you.
Man, you should do that for a living or something. Consider it sometime. Hands doing okay at just pushing in those waves and making sure that waves just disappear in the way that only really Sivir can do. Of course, later on into the game, G2 are going to have a massively powerful backline in this Victor and Sivir, just giving crazy AoE and pass-through damage. KC, the goal for them will be making it through the minefield of CC and frontline to those carries, and they'll have to choose their angles very carefully, because you fail to do that once, you often use a lot of your flashes as your ultimates, and makes it harder the next time. Vladdy is on the flank, they do want to contest.
That's a pincer movement here by KC. Camp's going to try and keep Vladdy at bay. Yike goes into the pit, but the smite comes.
Ovako sam očekivao će biti prva partija ove serije, inače. 14. minut, 2 kila.
Imam osjećaj da je bilo 0 killova.
Fair. Kao, apsolutno fair take za ovaj game. Tako se osjeća partija. Ne znam da bi samo možda krite, onda kad krite onda se čini kao da previše radi.
I think he just realized he was on a control ward as he jumped over. I thought, perhaps not. Again, even off the wall, does decent amount of damage there. We're going back in to get a bit of damage back.
Targamas will just dance around it. As a support in that situation, you take a trade of some of your life for some of the AD carries' life, even if it's slightly more of your life than the ADC's.
Particularly as the game goes on, HP on a support compared to HP of an AD carry, of course, is a very different thing. Even at early levels, it's a big thing in CVT. If you can trade onto the AD carry instead of the support, it tends to make a bit of a difference. Of course, both of these supports have a bit of sustain themselves. Helps you a little bit through that. We are now at the point where first items are through for everyone. The Canon Rooken for Broken Blade would allow him to have the extra effective HP for each wave that crashes in. But as you were saying before, stuff like the Aurora with the Leandries, you think it's a tank killing build, and it is. It is also a squishy killing build because Aurora has so much base damage, which Leandries amps up with the, 6%, the amount of percent damage up from it, which affects your passive, your base damage, and everything. It means that you just end up just getting a nuke of damage when it goes into that backline later on as well. And kind of being ahead of the game from that position too is something that G2 will need to be really, really cognizant of. This Aurora gets a good angle onto the backline. That is, a quarter to a half of your carries HP down when they get into the backline.
I don't think Broken Blade's ever watched The Incredibles, because I was told no capes. He has decided on a couple of them.
Can you do the Edna mode walk? Should we?
No, we should not. Firstly, only TikTok can see the stream.
True.
Iskreno, matematički korektak Sante build, ne vidim problem.
I think I'd be doomed, man. For the moment, the next objective, this Rift Herald, you can see G2 setting up around it once again. Caps answering into Vladdy. Broken Blade down towards the bottom side, does have his TP, as does Kana, so KC can react if a 5v5 begins. And this setup, once again, it's Targamas and Yike together that we see so often trying to get this vision in.
I'm sorry, but you are now obligated to say when there's a stopwatch, I got time, just to continue. Just that one other Incredibles reference we can throw in there. Harold has spawned, as you were saying.
Kako su čudni buildovi ovih gameova. Caps prvi item Leandries. Upgradeuje Q prvo.
G2 on the defensive side of that coin now.
They are. Skumon looking around the corner here. Targamas and Yike going out together. The quickness coming out. Hansama flashes it. Skumon still healthy enough, but Lebrov caught out by Kalist. He's going to have to pop that unbreakable will and walk his way away, and KC come out much healthier out of the exchange.
I do actually wonder whether Hans flashed a little too defensively there, completely out of DPS range, leaving Skumon and Labrov a little bit out to dry. Well, this was the one that should start to turn and burn after that point. Skumon going in again.
Yeah, Skumon still has the Crescent Guard here, so can be a little bit more aggressive. Caps coming in first. Yike on the Rift Herald, but that's going to reset. Goes back to its pit, and G2 will force KC away from the objective. Lebrov now back out on the map using those Hex Gates. Something you have to be so aware of in modern League of Legends.
Chile Bibi. Ovaj game igra, mislim, ali, kažem opet, moja teorija ti je tu, imaš Bibija, ako Bibi igra Xantea, nešto nije kako treba, to je kod Adam igra Xantea. Vladi je giga raspoložen, zaista Vladi od kad je došao u led, stvarno mislim da je dokazao da zaslužuje svoje mesto.
That's the between worlds from Kana used, trying to get that fight. They have cut off G2 from the mid lane, but they only have a cannon minion here to walk towards the tower. The next wave will bolster it in a second, and so Kalista will get a little bit of time with this turret.
You could really see how geography worked against G2 there a little bit. Hans did use the ghost very well to get out there, but you're stuck.
Jeste, ne, Vladi stvarno pokazuje da zaslužuje. Mislim, došao je čovjek iz Grčke i stvarno prelepo igra, tako da ono, čovjek iz, ne znam, LGC-a uleteo u LFL i pravo u LEDs i drži se dobro. Mislim da ovaj game, do duše kažem, G2 ide na taj hyper late sa dovoljno kasno s ovim herojima, mislim su i više nego fine. Sad je Casey taj koji nema front, Casey je taj koji mora da odigra fight jako clean i nemaju baš puno prostora za grešku. Dok s druge strane G2 sa Xinom, sa Xanteom, sa Viktorom s 5000 healtha mnogo su bolji, u smislu kao ease of execution, ono što je reč koju, to je rečenicu koju mnogo volim koristim, na njihovoj strani je. I to je samo činjenica. Lagani su, mogu da budu jako spori, mogu da naprave grešku dve, ali sa, ono, imaš, si mimo Sivir nikog ne mogu da popaju s druge strane.
Could have a 5v5 around this. Would only be second Drake for G2 or for KC. They managed to steal it away. Lebrov has that unbreakable will. There with the teleports in. As we see G2 still on the Drake. Hexgate from Kana. Caps turns onto him immediately behind Summer. Already half HP. The redemption will heal him up. There's the quickness onto the backline. Vladdy flashing forward. And Summer down. KC find the first. Broken Blade's gonna go all out and pull.
My god, što se dešava?
Don't have the damage on him right now. Lebrov escapes with the sliver. Kana goes down. Vladdy dashes away with the perfect execution. Lebrov gets taken out by an ultra shock laser, I believe, out of Kalist. And in the end, a 2-for-1 exchange in favor of KC.
KC find the flashless carry of Hans Sammer, and that Sivir is put to dirt pretty quickly. KC, we said they were not going to be leaving these dragons uncontested. They've really set a goal on making sure G2 can't just slide into easy dragons to allow them to scale up later. Dragon to the side of KC.
Pa dobro, 3-0 za KC. Easy.
Checking those Hexgates. The Hexgate was the big game changer here. We're saying, well, you know, the Aurora doesn't quite have the ultimate at the start of this play. Well, he gets a great angle just without that. Fires the shotgun into both carries. We were just saying how much damage that Aurora can do, even with a quote-unquote anti-tank build. Rakan follows up, and sadly, Hans Sammer does not have anything to outplay that with.
Yeah, just doesn't have enough pupil tools for himself. Lebrov here dies. I think maybe Kalist dashed and flashed for it. Yeah, flash burst fire in the end. Skimon was able to kill.
O, evo ga, Atakan. O, evo ga, hoćemo bacimo game. Ajmo, Atakan.
A možda su fajn ovdje, mislim da imaju dovoljno fronta da nisu full doomed.
Jer im krade jajk, ne krade im baš.
Labrov samo traži jajka, da. Ovo je tačno, sad prodaš čoveka ako treba. Samo ne bude šejsovan. To je giga bitno.
Wait a second, oni su želi 2 kila ovdje.
Mislim, Vladi jajk su izrifovali. Pogledaj jajk nema ulti, što on uleće to?
Ja znaš šta mislim, ja mislim da su uleteli. Ja mislim da ih je povukao Ksant. Sa onim kako se zove Pathmaker ili koji je već...
Unbreakable, ne? W.
Mislim, duplo vidi.
Da, W od Ksanta, svakako.
Dobro, Labrov malo probuje, ali...
Vidi, koliko su trebali da izgube kada rade ovaj objektiv i koliko su izgubili. Super su prošli.
Have you got 10k gold lead, fail dive, flame horizon, okay.
You have a full bingo there. All right, well, someone's now going to tell us what happens with that bingo across the series. That is now obligation.
Okay. 3-1 G2. Idemo. Ale, G2.
Yeah, no, you've just let them know about that.
We'll just get them out of the way. King's Legacy, Dynasties,
yeah.
6 feet under,
the likes of, what are the other crush words?
As well, obviously.
In the meantime.
Oh, time after time.
Time after time, yeah.
Almost forgot that.
All right, so we can't use any of them now.
Znaš kako ću ja? Svaki put kad neko krene da vodi, ja ću da navijam za taj tim. Tako ću biti u pravu na kraju game.
To je istina, to slažem se s tim procesom razmišljanja, to je uvek si u pravu, to znači si uvek srećan. Jer oni koji je u pravu, on je srećan, jer on je znao. Ima to smisla. A kažem, realno još malo nam dolazi i Worlds, tako da ono, moramo nešto da uzmemo od ovoga, da kad radimo Worlds budemo tamo pametni da znamo ko je dobar, ko nije dobar. A za sada je jako teško to reći, jer Evropa je malo čudna u najmanju ruku.
Coming through for his build, no Rod of Ages, has a bit of the HP, as we said, from that Liandry's to make up the difference.
The big things you have to watch for in this game. Do Kalist and Hansama survive through a fight? And do their front lines survive long enough for them to put the damage down? Obviously, Vladdy and Yike are going to want to get on that back line. Kana's going to want to do the same. But Kalist, if he is untouched, will absolutely rip through G2. The same can be said about Hansama. Flicker Blades and Yuntal's. 3 items is really where these AD carries come online, but 2 is enough for them. Alongside that, Caps farming up on this Victor Kalist!
Oh my god, Kalist ga isto troluje.
Da. Uuuu. 23 minuta win, ovo je...
Oni mogu završiti?
Ja mislim da
ne mogu.
Verovao sam u neki životni base race. Mislim ne base race, ali ono samo end race, I guess, bili su situacije gdje su možda... Ali neće ga flipaju. Fora što Akali i Wukong su jako slabi u ovom delu partije. Takvi heroji kad padnu behind na početku, samo je jako neigrivo s njima. Jer ti moraš da ulećeš u melee range i da nekoga asasiniraš, a ono... Ako te neko pogleda, popreko vratno umireš.
G2 need to retreat, spend their gold, and then get out on the map. Yeah, so actually staying quite a long time has now left them in a bit of a problem because they haven't been able to retreat.
Tu je Lavrov da daje jedan kill. Svaki slučaj. Da se sažali čovjek malo na KC.
A šta, previše je lako, daj da malo im izađemo u susret.
Has nothing left after that point. No summer as the double burn from the Victor. More than enough to get onto the carry at that point. Easy tower kill. You are completely right. Tempo is the right word from what they did after this point, though. So often misused. G2 use up their kind of movement on the map to say, let's take these turrets. And now they're behind in the setup for the Dragon. KC might be able to take a fight here.
Rob does have TP, though, off the unsealed spellbook, so he can get into the fight and he still has his ultimate. No flash for him as the Drake is down to 6,000, 5,000 now. Vladdy has a massive flank. There's no vision. LeBron finally puts a ward in there. Between worlds goes Kana, immediately locked up, knocked up and taken out. The smite goes down, and it's this time. This Stumon finds his mark. Yike getting chased out as well. It'll be a 3-for-0 with Drake alongside it as G2 take total control of the game.
Ja se slažem s tom da Bibi treba da igra te kao čudne pikove, ali ja mislim da samo funkcionišu bolje kada igra meto. Zato što očigledno su neke stvari meta. I sa razlogom su meta.
Ja mislim da je ovdje više grifovnje KC, ako ću iskreno, ali dobro da...
Dobro da, ali... Kao, prošli put je igrao Kleda u Rambla, ono, mislim. Da je uzeo da igra Galija, ne bi bilo ni blizu. A Galio je očigledno meta.
Ja sam iskreno, njegova Reksija na topu recimo je lomila, iako niko drugi ne igra Reksa i bilo je dobro, tako da mislim da ima onako pros and cons i jednog i drugog. Ali, ne znam, mislim da će to biti onako slična priča, da je kao protiv KC-a koji nisu nužno bolji od njih, da igraju default i da KC igra default, oni će dobiti, izgleda. Doduše, kažem, mislim, sad je KC uradio ono što je G2 radio prošli game, tako da ne možemo pričamo. Nisu to neki turbo cheese pikovi, ali su pikovi koji opet moraju završe relativno rano. I sad je KC pod pritiskom ovaj game. Jer G2 ima 3 tanka.
Mislim, mi smo pričali, ja i dalje stojim iza toga da KC ima dosta slab early game, generalno. Samo što kada G2 ne uradi ništa u early game-u i da im šansu da lepo naskilaju mid to late. onda KC ima, mislim, manje više free game mi je donekle. Kad već padnu behind, onda je malo diskutabilnije. Pogotovo što ti kažeš s ovakvim kompom, gde morali su nešto da naprave.
Niski ne bi izgubio, možda? Možda. Ništa nije isključeno tu.
Feels a bit bad having to take an outer turret for double inhibitor trade. That's what they have to get, though. There's no way you can wave clear against this, and you probably can't even stay there against the very long range of the Sivir and the Victor. Yes, you can poke back with the W max on the Zeri, but not that being able to clear those waves in the same kind of way. When you're behind as an Akali in a game like this, feels really, really bad. You're looking for flanks and assassinations, or that's it.
Tako je, kolega Astrid, to sam ja rekao. I slažem se, jeste. Jako je teško igrati Wukonga i Akali i Auroru i Zeri kad si behind. Kao ništa od pikova Casey ne radi kad si behind, mislim ne radi toliko dobro. Znači kad pogledaš koncept individualno svakog heroja, mimo Rakana, jer kao support je, pa support uvek radi isto, ali 4 heroja Casey nemaju nikakvu comeback mehaniku. Jer svi se oslanjaju na to da Zeri ima previše itema, Akali, Wukong i Aurora su skviši heroji koji moraju doleti do shotuju nekog da bi radili. Ovo im je last chance, ovo ako izgube samo game. I evo šta pričam, evo. Oni ulete da shotaju i šta onda urade, ništa budu shotovani. Nema, ovaj draft ne sme pada behind.
To je slična priča, ono što ne znam ko je igrao onaj draft gdje su draftovali samo damage u EBL-u, čini mi se Spike, gdje smo bili u fazonu kao ti kad padneš behind se time, kao nemaš kako da se vratiš jer moraš da radiš damage ti je baseovan na tome da si ahead, da imaš kako da konstantno scaluješ kroz game i kao ok, na 6 itema ako dođeš super ti ćeš raditi damage, ali nećeš doći do 6 itema.
Mislim slični su kompovi, jedino što iz prvog gema G2-a i drugog gema KC, jedna razlika je što u drugom gemu komp KC-a scaluje bolje nego komp G2-a u gemu 1, jer očigledno LeBlanc i Kled će opasti mnogo više u odnosu na Auroru i na šta smo ovdje već vidjeli, Akali. Ali, postoji jako veliko ali, jedini način da se KC vrati je da nalaze pikove, a jedini način da nađu pikove je da uleti da šotuju nekog za što nemaju dovoljno damage-a. Tako da, unlucky za KC, ali eto, proročanstvo se nastavlja, kao što smo rekli, vjerovatno 3-2, vidjet ćemo šta će se izdogađati još ovdje. Ali da, idemo na pauzicu, pauza 11 minuta, priča se nastavlja 1-1 i idemo u game rate još malo.
Hey Dragos, you ready for the... Oh, that doesn't look good. Wait, I have a solution, but you have a break. I will be right back. Just wait.
Have a break. Have a Kit Kat.
See? I told you we'd figure it out.
I don't think this counts.
Come on, let's go.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Hey Kia, let's see if you're a real fan.
I'm ready.
How many lanes are there in League of Legends?
There are 3 lanes in League of Legends.
Are you seriously quizzing the car about League of Legends?
Look, I just want to know how much it knows.
The EV3 has an AI assistant. It's supposed to know everything.
Okay then, hey Kia, how do I get better at League of Legends?
That will be challenging.
Radiant rebels in the silent fray. In the pulse of dawn, we embrace the day.
Skumon looking for the smite, and it's Yank again! He's just Skumon's father, it seems. LeBron hit with the ultra-shock laser, and it's a perfect execution from Vladdy that kills off the cow.
They might took an aurora. Yep. Oh, chain. Kill him. Go. Look, Sivir. Where is he? Shiver. Yeah, he's dead. I got it. Really good. There is still in base. Kite it. Go hard. But keep kiting. Kite it. Really good. Wukong. Nice. Mark, Wukong will flash. We're fine, guys. We had.
Oh my god.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the LEC where G2 tied the series 1-1 after a very exciting and back and forth game. And I'm here to break down probably one of KC's last very great setups when it comes to these neutral objectives, because the game has always been about neutral objectives, at least for this series. And as we kick it off, we're finding G2 with the position on this Drake, and KC has to play the very difficult job of breaking this situation open. So if we can roll the clip as we go now. KC is looking to push it up, and now as Kana is looking to take this Hex Gate, it's very important to highlight Labrov and Broken Blade here, because they are the two main characters when it comes to G2's team comp, because they are the ones who need to stop the blue wall from busting open and just going all over G2's team comp. So right now, Aurora went in, Vlad is also making space, and right now, if you can look, Labrov and Broken Blade are just running left and right because they have just way too many threats to take care of, because right now Hans has been in the back line, he's about to get one shot, and Kalist is very safe on this side of the fight. So it's just very impressive to showcase again how KC manages to fight this and break the situation open, because this is their realistic only win condition that they have, because in a straight up front to back it is really hard for KC to find any sort of lead. So now, as we toss it to the other side of the analyst desk, how did G2 manage to stop the blue wall from finding the situation over and over again?
By winning the game. No, by winning.
It's a little more complicated than that. They just killed them. They just did better. They did better.
They just clicked
and then they killed them.
the buttons.
Yeah,
but it actually came down to a really good setup for these team fights where they were able to bring the game back, specifically starting point being that Atacon.
Yeah, I think this really showcased the difficulties that KC had, where they weren't able to set up the map as much as they want to try and take this fight. Because as this plays out, look how quickly G2 just retreat into this little choke point. And even though you have so many of these assassins like the Auroras and the Akalis that want to try and get access, it's very easy for you to pull back, separate into these little choke points, and then deal with each little threat as it starts to wander through.
Execution was key in this game, and what surprised me, like it did many of us, was how fast G2 was actually playing. The Artican in of itself, after losing the teamfight around Dragon, I wasn't expecting them to come out onto the map and immediately force that objective. They ran it down mid, find 2 picks, converted into 2 towers as well. Yeah. Speed was the name of the game, and obviously with Sivir, she loves to go fast. She loves to fly forward and she loves to make stuff happen. But I wasn't expecting G2 to be as proactive as they were and take such swift control over the game.
Yeah, it was a really great showing from G2 specifically, and also punishing the mistakes that KC had, getting Kalist in that mid lane, catching him off guard. They were able to play to that composition, which is a little bit different than what we saw from them in that first game where they were going for those individual picks. This is more team fighting. But when it comes to the draft and how everything played out, we had Lore check in with Dylan at the 10-minute mark last game to ask exactly why the changes were made.
We are 10 minutes into game 2 right now, and I have Dylan with me to talk about the draft first. Completely different approach compared to game 1. What did you learn from what happened before?
Well, game 1 was really about punishing the Orianna. I think we did it early game, and we kind of let up on it a bit, mess up a couple fights, and of course, a comp like that looks pretty bad when you're behind late game. This one, a lot slower, a lot more standard, and I think it's going well so far.
Simple question, and last question about Victor. Was it to deny the champion for Vladdy, or did you just wanted to pick this champion anyway?
I think we just think picking it early there just makes our draft strategy a bit better and gives us some scaling.
All right, let's see how it goes. Thank you so much. Ginny, over to you.
Well, for them specifically, they managed to tie up the series. But this is the beauty as well of the best of 5s that we're seeing here, Rob, where it's like you have the chance to make these adaptations, to change things as you go along.
Yeah, and I think this is definitely something where they're like, hey, this is going to fit where we want to try and play for these front-to-back stalls and play a bit more simple, because my question is going to be on KC as they start to drift further into the best of 5, what kind of picks we have for Vladdy in the mid lane. So even though Dylan's like, no, we think it fits here, I think it's still a good takeaway from KC as they start to go through the rest of this. But I do think I'll be curious to see if they stick to this, hey, we're just going to put like a Sai on top, we're going to have this facilitator mid for caps, look for Hansam on a carry and just play that style continuously, or if they will start to go back towards this 1-3-1 style.
I just love that we got two good teams slamming heads against each other. Because quite frankly, we saw a game plan from G2 in game 1, which didn't come to fruition. They wanted to try and shut down that Orianna, as Dylan was saying, and they couldn't quite bring it together. In game 2, they immediately slow things down, and they kind of meet KC on their battleground. Because when I think of KC, fantastic team-fighting team. A lot of that I give credit to the way in which Vladdy and Kalist navigate their way through the fights, but just their ability to play the 5v5 and Kana's creativity when it comes to flanking and his impact is always so present. And now we've got an interesting situation where they weathered G2's creativity in game 1, G2 matched them in the team fights in game 2, and it feels like that they're both showcasing, we know what you want to bring to the table, and we have a plan to match it. And so now the question is, where do we go from here? Who's the one to make that big creative change, and where will the rest of the series go?
One of the things I want to hit on, though, that you said there was like how we're oftentimes seeing like these flank opportunities from KC when they come in towards the team fights, and that's why I actually want to give a shout out to Lebrov. I think this guy has been instrumental in some of these team fights that we've seen thus far in trying to shut down, like it was Canon that game going for the flank on the Orianna at that second or third dragon fight where he just kept him out of the play entirely. Like, I think Lebrov is having a field day, and I think like when you think of these big KC fights, it's also guys like Targamas who are on the rail, who are getting these big engagements off, and where KC seem to thrive and flourish, but it hasn't come to fruition, and I do think a lot of that has just been Lebrov outpacing Targamas in a lot of these situations.
Yeah, it's really important as well to keep in mind here that this is a straight qualification to Worlds that's on the line here. You're also going to Madrid for the LEC final, so now that both teams are tied up, and these are really close games, that just makes things so much more exciting. We're ready to head into our third game of the series, where we see which one of these teams is going to be taking the lead, as we're going to be heading over to our casters, Alex and Medic.
You got real named, and I got medicked. Do you think Ginny just doesn't know my real name? It's very possible.
Sure thing, AA-Ron.
AA-Ron?
Do you know AA-Trox? Is that your buddies?
No.
Oh my god, the new Darkin!
I'm actually a Darkin, yeah.
Oh, incredible.
It's true, and that's why I shaved the beard. The beard is actually the Darkin.
Oh my god, it's the Darkin beard.
We are getting ready for game 3 of this best of 5, as they said so eloquently at the analyst desk. Not only a spot at Worlds, but also qualification for the Madrid portion of our playoffs in a couple of weeks' time. Also gives you a break week next week if you win this, I think, right? Yeah? No? No. They'll play again at some point. Look, the problem is with the different groups, it confuses me a little bit.
Different bits of the bracket are played in different times. Yes, I understand that. But really, just looking at the stakes here, you know, KC could make their first Worlds ever. Haven't been in the LEC for that long. True. G2 on the other side of it, would it be their 9th? I think it is.
Yes,
something like that.
It would be 9 of the last 10.
You know, they are such a kind of part of the landscape of Worlds. Both these teams, of course, would have another chance, even if they do drop down after that point. We are in even series now. Now it's basically a glorified best of 3. We played out 2 games, got ourselves onto an even footing.
And G2 still on the red side. KC electing to go blue. So far we've seen Annie, Talia, Varus, Yunara, Azir, and one last Pantheon. Thank you. But it looks like something gonna be left open here. It's the Trundle ban with the Talia already banned.
Ajmo da vidimo šta će biti draftovano ovdje.
Between giving Vlad his Azir or giving Yike his Pantheon.
I think I would prefer to ban out the Azir here myself, because a lot of the lane answers to the Azir are kind of down.
Slažem se s Azirom.
I think that the team that has been winning the game so far has a solid front to back, and they play towards the 5v5. I completely agree with
this. Azir se baš ne pušta.
Da, to slažem se s Azirom, da Azir treba da bude banovan. I onda daš Pantheona I šta radiš.
Is the style of play from the Pantheon has been losing.
Yes, I totally agree with you there. Pantheon, obviously, Grand Starpool does give you side lane threat as well, which is another tool in his toolkit. But Ezreal and Jarvan picked up immediately into it. Already the last safe AD carry, apart from Xayah, locked in for G2.
I think Ryze and Galio are getting quite scary in this draft now. You can double global with the Pantheon. Typically you do that with the Talia, but I think Ryze is quite good for Vladdy, and it's a comfort pick. And on the other side, you've got a Jarvan, so the Galio's there, and it would match the globals. I want to see whether KC do double down on that. Not just yet. They lock in the Lucian. Lane priority.
Ooh, Lucian Nami. Huge lane priority.
Lucian Nami, okay.
We don't see that much Lucian Nami now. Nami's fallen off. We've been seeing Lucian Braum, occasionally something like Lucian Milio. Lucian Nami's fallen off a fair amount.
Nami is really big in solo queue right now, though. We're seeing it a lot. Masters Plus, tons of enchanters being played up there. Gives you great power in terms of your damage output on the Lucian as well, because you just give him the Tidecaller's Blessing as he dashes in, and you get the procs. Extra damage from the auto. So it's Ezreal
It's
Karma.
all bot prio.
Okay, so it's, yeah, who can get more bot prio? Is it Lucian Nami with their damage, or Ezreal Karma with their clip?
And then the 1-2 item spike is going to be disgusting from both of these bot lanes. As soon as you hit the Imperial Mandate for the Nami, Lucian just becomes just hot rod out of hell, just slams the ultimate down on you. Die very, very quickly. On the other side, Ezreal 2 item spike, but Karma helping you get towards that point. Does mean you don't have
Karma Nami ne znam šta mi se manje sviđa, ali okej.
Targamas was never really known as a ranged player. He has played more of that now. I say that he did play stuff like some things back when, of course, he was on G2 as well. But more recently, he started.
Mislim, Lucian Nami odgovara sa Pantheonom svakako ako hoćete da igramo agresivno.
Through this split, Labrov did play a game or two of the Karma this split from memory. Very different bot lanes to what we normally see.
Yeah, it's very much about prio. It's what we've been talking about a little bit here, but we'll see if the junglers actually want to try and influence that a huge amount, or if they let their bot lanes fight for prio and then try and influence the rest of the map. Really dependent on top lane matchups, mid lane matchups, which we have neither of so far. Gwen and Ambessa banned away by G2. Jax taken away by KC. I mean, we might just be reverting to a high damage mid laner and something like an Ornn or a Sion for G2.
I think G2 are a little bit of afraid of a real carry top laner getting a Pantheon into their lane, which is why they ban away the champions which they used or anything else which could go towards that. I mean,
Znači pikaju, šta ću stvari, pa blinduju mida, I guess da je to fine.
Be a target for that global, and if you get a kill on that side lane starts to pop off, and be a big, big threat. Casey, what's the last ban? Thinking about it.
They're taking their time.
Okay, Yasuo ban.
So a possibility.
It može biti human mid.
Broken Blade very happy to pick the Yasuo into the Gnar, and G2 are like, yeah, we know.
Oh my god, surprise substitution, we have Knock-Knockout. I mean, I know BB plays it as well.
I think taking Gnar away from KC also gets rid of some of their agency in team fights if you want. You can also remove the Rise to get rid of that side lane threat you were talking about already, Nightmare.
Yeah, I mean, I think globals, when you have other globals in play, allows you to either neutralize or double down on it. Taking that away from the Pantheon is fine, and I think the Pantheon wants to play less with the Galio than you would with the Rise. We might see it locked anyway, just because Galio's fine into the Rise in an individual matchup. I'm a little worried that this doesn't have the best use for your own team. You can dunk the Galio onto the enemy Cataclysm and just say, well, someone's trapped in it. We're going to go put our own defensive play in there too. But I do think that they would have preferred the Rise, and it was an intelligent takeaway by G2.
Yeah, when I look at the KC comp, I'm thinking you have good disengage, but you don't really have great dive or like catch potential. The Pantheon can do that to a degree, and you have bubbles coming out from the Nami. Maybe the Galio getting in there with a Justice Punch, but you don't have that all-in, like, very solid, this is the person.
Galio Gnar.
Gives you a little bit of that, obviously, with the Mega Gnar coming out, and you Gnar people into the wall. And G2 looking to answer it with a Yorick.
Gnar people into the wall je effect, spell se zove Gnar. Ok, Yorick, flip. Meni se sviđa flip, mislim da je dobar flip ako ništa.
Now I think that Kana has been getting the better of BB in individual matchups in this series so far. This is a chance for BB to stand up and say, you know what? I'm Broken Blade, I'm the top father. Give him a winning matchup, see if he can get the Rise and the Jarvan into his lane to make the difference.
I think the thing with the Yorick in this matchup specifically is you survive until you get your Maiden, and then you make sure you don't put your Maiden down just before you get ganked. Because you do still die to a Pantheon Gnar if they chase you effectively, right? You have a bit of health, but last rites is really where you're getting your health back, and that's your Q, so people have to be in range for you. You do get burst pretty quickly, but if you put your Maiden down and it goes on that 200-second timer, you are not in a happy spot at all.
And if you do manage to get to an early 2 items, you are taking over the game. You are chilling. 2 items, Triforce, and that Trojan really starts to take over. So KC, they have a bit of a goal. Make sure that Yorick doesn't become a win condition and make it about their own globals, playing around the Lucian power spike instead.
Ovaj nije ni tapšao. On je bio ono kao... Kao oni, kak se zovu... royalty što tapšu onako tiho, kao tek dodiruju šake.
Zabavite me, plebovi.
Da, bukvalno.
Legitimno, tako se
Vratić
osjeća.
mora malo entuzijazma da baci.
Vidi, čuva energiju, znači ovo potre.
Exactly the same, right? They want a little bit more pick at the start. They want to catch someone out with the Pantheon jumping in, followed up with an Aqua Prison. But if they can't assassinate someone, they're still very happy to slowly work their way through the enemy team as G2 step in towards this red side.
Yeah, the winner of the first two games has strong front line, long range back line. You could argue that neither of these teams have that in game 3. They're playing towards different styles, so a chance to show a bit of their versatility. The aggressive dive comps didn't necessarily get the most out of the losing games from both teams.
You see, I am a hot queen, said Lucian Nami Hart. Just, I wanted to call them out specifically.
Does that imply the existence? I am a cold queen, I'm a
king,
0
perhaps?
Kelvin. True.
Yeah,
true.
0 Kelvin, just 0 entropy.
Exactly, yeah, there's no particle movement there. It's all gone.
A bit of visual invested by G2. Just as a reminder for everyone, we've talked so much about it, but it's good to solidify it in your memories, in your thoughts. This is a 2-for-1 series. If you win this, you qualify both for Madrid and for Worlds over in China. KC looking for their first
Ozbiljna priča.
And with the
Aj, za KC će biti hype, iskreno. Mislim da će otići na World svejedno.
But you always have to overcome the final hurdle. We've moved away from the days where championship points would squeak you in, or where, I mean, I can't say where winning one best of 5 would get you in, because that can still happen as Abrov trading onto Kalist here. Not on the right side of that at all. Abrov down to 150 HP. The heal was used alongside the barrier from
Kalist na Worldsu. Ne znam, mislim da je baš dobra priča za KC, iskreno. Želim da vidim KC koji na Worldsu, to je moj tek ove godine.
Već da vidiš pobija legendu.
Da, može. I šaljemo 3 ekipe, ali tako?
Da.
Onda kad malo bolje razmislim, fajn sam da G2 ne ode na Worldsu. Šokantno, znam. Ali ne, nego, znaš šta, kao G2 je svake godine skoro na Worldsu i nikad ništa spec ne urade. KC nikad nije bio na Worldsu. Džodžupljuna hoću da vidim, pobija hoću da vidim na Worldsu. Tako da... Mislio sam u stvari okej da ne ode G2.
In the end, LeBron does have to invest both of his summoner spells to evade the gank, but he does get away.
And what that's now opened up is a chance for Skewmon to walk across the river and attack these topside camps which weren't taken by Yikes. So the chance to snowball the bot lane and yes, get the summoner spells is important, has set your jungle behind in the individual matchup.
Makes it a little bit trickier for the G2 bot lane to be as forward with their pressure in the lane, because Lavrov not having the flash and you having CC on Targamas and damage on Kalist makes it harder for him to really step up in the lane. You see Vladdy on the losing side of the mid lane matchup as well, just being forced back. There's the Dark Possession. Broken Blade lands the Morning Mist. We'll see a couple of ghouls spawn. Last Rites coming out as well. And you can see when the Yorick, if he had a couple of items under his belt, he could really harass down this mini Gnar. Kana able to just farm this up underneath the tower. He's going to be slightly ahead, assuming he gets all of these minions.
Mid lane, you can see that Ryze has got the early push. I think, oh god, great trade there from Caps. The early power of the Ryze is so much some people overlook because Ryze is a scaling mage. It starts machine gunning.
Ja na Worldsu, ja bih volao da G2 ne ode, zato što želim da očiste kuću. Mislim da je vrijeme. I mislim da bi to bio wake-up call za organizaciju. Ali, ne znam, na neki način želim da vidim kakav bi Fallout bio kod Francuza da KC ne ode. Da li bi zamenili Vladija sa Niskijem? To bi bilo interesantno.
See the TP coming back from Vladdy towards the mid lane as he'll just try and get this wave.
Sad ćemo da ima šta se događa.
The Ryze, especially when you get a bit of mana under your belt, can just absolutely rattle through these waves. Spellflux does a huge amount of work alongside the Overload. He'll be happy enough just to accept this wave and keep it away from Vladdy's clutches.
Skewmon back out onto the map, got himself a bit of a recall. BB, that's getting close towards that level 6. We'll see what he ends up doing with the Maiden. See what he can do with that. Yike gets back down towards bot side. Does have flash if Labrov walks up too far. I think it's quite unlikely to get damage, but I suppose the wave is crashing in. If Kalista and Targamas can hold the wave here, perhaps they can threaten overextended Karma.
If you're G2, you can have Hans step a little bit further forward. He's still got Arcane Shift and the flash, so if you want vision, doesn't have a ward in his inventory right now, but could be able to put one down in a couple of moments. See Yike moving away from that. But the bot lane is obviously a key focus through the series as well. Hans Summer talking about Kalist a little while ago said, Kalist is actually the AD carry that challenges me the most. He clicks well, he's one of the cleanest and fastest at clicking. I think he's always trying to outplay, and we saw that actually come a cropper a little bit in game 2, trying to outplay on that Zevi, got caught out with the headbutt pulverize. But both these AD carries have been stalwarts for their team through the
Samo što su jedan I drugi interi, tako da ima I tu neke priče.
Ne ovako, ne ovako.
But the damage percent from Kalist shows how important he is to his team. So you can see, bits and pieces of strengths of these players.
Sama KDA igrač.
There's going to be a contest, particularly with no flash on the bot lane. You don't really want to throw Lucian Nami to the wolves.
Also, Camp's getting Cryo in the mid lane means that you have to have Vladdy clear out that wave, then come across. Does have the hero's entrance if a fight began, but Yike is a mile away. So it will be first Drake of the game over to G2. As their bot lane continues to push in alongside it. Kalist, it's down to about 450 HP there. Broken Blade does have the Maiden, will summon her.
No longer Maidenless.
Yeah, only Kana Maidenless now in this top lane.
Touch Grace.
Šta pričaju naši kolege drage?
Sprozivali su Kanu da nema ribu. Rekli su da je Kana Maidenless. Ne ovako.
Silk song similar, actually.
True, yeah, so I've heard. Yeah. Luckily, no bugs hit so far. No bugs.
Oh man, you've cursed us now.
I have, but it was
3-hour chrono break. It's the bubble pop for on repeat. You know how it works.
That's bad when production boos you as well. Don't worry, we heard that.
So with Grubs coming up in 40 seconds, we see the quintessential swap that has been happening in every single game. Broken Blade not using his teleport here, where Kana, I mean, he should be able to get here in time. Broken Blade does clear waves relatively quickly with the Maiden and with the Ghouls, but Kana just finished his recall. He's going to start running out, and I think he's just going to accept if he loses a couple of minions to this tower. Wants to keep the TP, well, he doesn't have the TP, so he can't keep the TP. That makes a lot more sense. Yeah.
I'm glad you sorted out all that logic.
Thank you, I got there in the end.
I could have done that for you.
I looked to the top left of the screen, I was like,
wow, incredible.
There's a timer on that.
Yeah.
No TPs for anyone.
Yeah. Play taken there by BB in the bot side.
Might get two.
Yeah, I don't know. Kind of might be able to threaten to jump at him after that point. Of course, you can't turn around the trading when you're on the tower like that. We're getting into a really important part of the game now, folks. We're getting towards Grubs being up. That's very important to both these teams. Nara's an excellent user of Grubs, as is the Yorick, of course. Great chunk there coming out from the electrocuted Lucian. You do get that there too. But then also the globals are now in play. We had a lot of ammunition kind of waiting in the storage for those ultimates to come back up. Now we have that. Those ults can be used to completely turn the map at a moment's notice.
Broken Blade also playing in Fog of War a little bit. It's kind of signaling, oh, I could be going up towards mid, I could be coming back. Here's teleport about to come off cooldown, as is Kana's. Grub started by G2. Yike here puts a control ward down. G2 will be able to clear that one out. They already got the first Grub. Vladdy looking for that Justice Punch into Taunt combination. KC trying to play this on multiple angles. They jump in onto Skewmond. There's the taunt, and down goes Skewmond. Absolutely assassinated.
Ok, Skewmond Griff ima ulti, ima flash. Ništa nije bacio.
No smite now to contest these. First grub was taken by G2. KC didn't even need to use any of their big ultimates. They used the tidal wave and that was it. G2 caught a little bit flat-footed. Just couldn't really support their jungler, who was a little too far forwards and definitely not tanky enough for that.
Yeah, I think Skewmond just thinking he could flag and drag out, right? It's like, oh, if they jump on me, I'll just flag and drag out immediately. But the CC layering when he doesn't have, never mind Merc Treads, doesn't have boots right now. It's a little bit tricky for him to escape such a situation. Kalista and Targamas here, standing on the back side of the bush, but it hit with a Mantrid in a flame, and that's quite a bit of damage. Grand Starfall coming out, LeBron with an early flash. Kalista chasing it as well.
Dobro je.
And now LeBron is
3 Ankisi.
Ok, 3 Ankisi.
To sam je očekivao, apsolutno fair.
That's really good, and I'm annoyed that I didn't get that initially. Pantheon comes up, and Yike, 2 great kill participation back-to-back. The first one was a freebie, that one was an overstay from G2. I'm just saying, look, the globals can punish
Jedan od proaktivnijih Pantheona koje sam vidio u posljednje vreme u early game.
I think having the globals and having squishy supports makes this a very different game to the ones that we normally see in the current meta. You don't normally see a Pantheon being able to one-shot a support. I mean, sometimes you can in very specific scenarios, but Nami, Karma, they need to be very careful, and we just saw that.
Mislim, ovo su očekivali, nema šta. Ovo su očekivali, tako da ništa neobičajeno tu.
Because you have to be with one of your teammates. You don't have the ability to remove yourself from the enemy jungle like a Pike or a Khan or even a Bard. You need to be there with someone when you face check, because otherwise you are just going to get popped. You're just going to get one shot by the enemy team. Labrov there, clicking on the snail to make sure his ward goes into the tri-bush.
You know, funny you mentioned that. I remember because Lucian Army really came about in 2022 and a little bit beyond that point, and it stuck around for a little long time to the point where we were absolutely sick of it. EU struggled for a little while to play through the Lucian Nami and Enchanter supports because precisely that you mentioned in terms of the buddy system, warding particularly well. Lucian Nami, stuff like the Ezreal Karma applies to this too. You don't get to hard engage. You need to put a little bit of shallow vision, understand when you're in threat, and understand actually, look, their jungler's not there, I can jump forward. You do need to do that groundwork though, and right there, felt like Hans and Labrov didn't quite have the vision to see.
Mi se ne sviđa ovaj Yorick. Mislim, ne kao igra, nego kao pik u ovaj team comp. Mislim da može da radi, ali mislim da moraju, kao, znam koja im je ideja, ali...
Da, mislim, on je dosta pik za sebe, u smislu da... Šta na tebi carry?
Malo, trampiš, ono, malo. Jedan into je malo, drugi into je... Into, idemo, into.
I meni se čini.
Više? Kakav je ulti bio? Ajoj, ne ovako. Ne ovako, ovi Giantsi, ajoj, ne ovako. Giantsi su bili bolji juče.
Navi, vratite se, sve me oprošno. Šalim se, nemojte se vratite. To je bila šala, to samo tako kaže, opustite se. Nije toliko ozbiljno, nisam spreman za to.
Nismo baš htjeli toliko da idemo daleko.
Nismo toliko očajni.
Da. Mislim, Giantsi clearuju ova dva tima, ono, lagano. Kako su juče igrali.
Naravno, sad opet se vrtimo u krug, jer ja mislim su tako igrali protiv BDS-a, mislim protiv bolje ekipe bi se raspali, ali dobro, svakako da, mislim, jedino zašto mi je krivo, ako underperformuju ovdje i G2 i KC, još će dobiti baterije na Worlds. Tako da čisto da chat razume, toksičan sam iz ljubavi. Kao, želim da igraju bolje, jer želim na Worldsu da uradimo nešto. Ne želim da nas, ono, baš...
Ja samo želim da smo bolji od DNA-a.
Pa to, mislim, ajde, Kina Koreća nas nalupa, ali okej sam s tim. Realno, Kina Koreća nas nalupati, ja znam da će to biti, neću biti ni tužan ni razočaran, jer u redu je. U redu je da izgubiš od Tivana, u redu je da izgubiš od GNG, u redu je da izgubiš od BLG-a. Znaš, to je okej. Ne možeš nas nalupa... Ne znam, ono... Ha, bukvalno.
Ili 100 Thieves, ne znam, 100 lopova da nas nalupi. Ne znam ni koliko oni šalju, 3 ili 2?
Pa ja mislim da je 3 isto, ne?
Ne znam, ne.
Pa mislim, ako ćemo po nekom realnom, ono, nekoj realnoj logici, imaju bolje performanse od nas zadnjih koliko, tako da... Ne, mislim da bi bilo fair da šalju bar isto koliko i mi. Ovo, ne vidim kako Evropa zaslužuje da ima više ekipa nego NA na Worldsu. Uzit ću obzir šta šaljemo na Worlds. To je kako performamo na istom.
Šta bi bio? Koja bi 3 tima bila najčudnija da pošaljemo? Mislim, poslaćemo sigurno jedan od ova dva, znači G2 ili KC. Čini mi se da sigurno idu koji ili Fnatic, ali koji bi treći tim iz lower bracketa koji bi pobedio? Kao Giantsi ili Vitality.
Ne znam, iskreno ne znam. Nijem ti pametan odgovor na to.
Kao što bi bilo najčudnije da...
Down to half HP as the ghouls chase him down. Ow. Yeah, again, see he stopped off the Bramble Vest who doesn't have as much gold in pocket. Probably can do the same getting those tier 2 boots. Neither of them quite on that first item just yet. And yeah, you mentioned that Cloud Salt.
G2 koji Giantsi? Ja mislim da je to... Ja čak mislim da bi bilo ono baš kao smiješno da ide tipa KC Fnatic Giantsi. Ja mislim da je to bilo baš ono kao neočekivano mi da odu ta 3 tima.
KC Fnatic Giantsi, fair. Ne znam stvarno. Vidjet ćemo. Giantsi, previše puta sam se nahepao za njih, previše puta su me razočarali. Tako da, svaki zona je tako, ove sezone sam samo odlučio se ne hepujem za njih uopšte. I u fazonu sam, ok, ako mi iznenade, super, ekstra. Idemo Jack iz njega, gotivim i ko volao bi da se pokaže dobro. Ali mimo toga, previše puta su me nahepovali lažno. Tako da...
Any of that deep vision is also superficial because neither of the supports can walk up by themselves. They're so scared of just being caught out.
Yeah, and I'm really going to echo something that Vedi said on the last desk. I'm just happy to see two great teams here in Europe butting heads against each other in a series like this. This is now much more of an even game, I think, and I think the comps are a little bit more even too. I think the aggressive comps earlier in the series really struggled to land the success they wanted to. G2 choosing not to contest the Herald. Casey will get it uncontested. G2 throw an Ezreal ult out a little bit off that. An easy take from Casey.
G2 da nisu zeznuli one grabove, imali bi prvi feed strength.
G2 here giving up the time it takes to take Rift Herald or to contest it to get out.
Ali dva zmaja je velika priča.
You can see Lebrov knowing the enemy was on the Rift Herald for a while can step in a little bit less perturbed than he would have been usually. Gets a couple of wards behind that Dragon Pit.
And now we get the Dragon up and available. And you were saying, look, G2, it's a great shot down to Kallis, blows the heal.
Aqua Prism down as well from Targamas. Hansama able to sidestep that, as you say, no heal. Grand Starfall coming out. Hansama immediately walking away with a heal from Lebrov. Dashes out with the Arcane Shift as well, and now Kallis needs to be a little bit worried. Uses his own dash, relentless pursuit to escape Scumon's possible clutches all the time that this
Je se Electrocute igra na Lucianu?
U ovom matchupu da. Generalno, ni u jednom drugom matchupu osim sa nami ne igraš Electrocute. Tako da to je legitimno. Mislim, jeste cheesy, očigledno ono u full tanko već slabije raditi, ali kao... Generalno je okej. Jeste. Mislim da Riot samo treba, ne znam, mislim da trebaju samo trunku da oslabe ataka, na to je moj neki take. Mislim da je prejak za to što daje, kao okej je, ali mislim da Atakan samo ne daje dovoljno da bude, ne znam, Shelly ti bar daje free coolu u većini situacije.
Ovo može biti kill za malo, holy. Ode Maiden.
Vladdy here as well. Arcane shift away from Hansama. Does still have the flash and has to use it. Invest both his summoners to escape.
Hansama hasn't able to go back to finish his second item, which will really give him that power point. Okay, we ask KC, can they use the Herald well? You need to make some plays. Thanks to their bot lane, yes they can. Hans isn't here for wave clear. Herald will smash into mid lane turret. Can they take the full thing? Flash forward again.
Good flash away from Lebrov there, right in the nick of time. I think if you've been caught with that shield vault anywhere further up in the lane, he would have died. The Rift Herald did come out, but Camps was here to defend. So the wave is cleared out. Next Drake 3 minutes away.
Caps igra dosta dobro ova dva gejma, čak i ovaj game. Kao, Vladi je na Kali imao malo, ali nije uspio više da nađe na laneu.
Off of that, getting the chunk is good, but they need to capitalize on it. Herald was decent for them. Hans will drop a little bit of gold. He's about to get himself towards his second item though, couldn't get it on that base unfortunately.
Yeah, Kallis with the rapid fire cannon is able to get just a bunch more chunk damage more consistently because he's not aiming, he's not hitting a skill shot. He dashes forward, has Tycaller's Blessing on him, and then right-click someone, and they take a bunch of damage. Hansama needs to be a little bit more tricky with his positioning and hitting those Mystic shots. on this Ezreal. Not something we saw him play too often across the course of his career, this Ezreal. It's something he's picked up in the last few years or so, I'd say.
But he's doing pretty well on it here from the laning phase, and doing a decent
3 kila 20 minuta, još sporije nego prethodna partija.
That's the one, right? I didn't read the thing at the bottom.
No worries,
isn't it? Wow, almost like you should read.
Ako napreduje serija, tako je sve sporije i sporije.
He was seen as not having in his arsenal for a very long time, and this year has begun to change that narrative, I would say. 7-3, obviously G2 having a really generally good year. Yes, they haven't won a split, but they've been in both finals and now are fighting to get to Madrid and to Worlds. So obviously you have to take that with a pinch of salt. As Cash just opens up on Kana. Does still have the flash and will walk away in the end.
Yeah, dare we forget about him. Another good culling from Kalist in the mid lane. Hansama, again, doesn't have that second item to really fight back. Skewmon, you are on a ward there. That does not help.
Yeah, but he doesn't know.
Yeah, I know that.
He's got a control ward just above him. He thinks he's not.
Oh yeah, so he has assumed security, which is obviously not working that well for him, sadly.
Not at all. Shield wall in by Yike just for a bit of CC. They'll clear out the control ward. Ardakan available to these two teams, but this feels less like one of those games where you can just sneak it away. There's too many globals, too many ways to close that gap, and although it's worked for KC in game 1 and G2 in game 2, I don't think that same trick will be effective once again.
And I do think, on the whole, the Atacans this series have been fairly effective, fairly low risk on the whole. Like, so many games have been thrown around an Atakan for reasons which are...
Šako i oni znaju. I oni znaju koliko ekipa je legit intovalo Atakana.
As you said though, not so easy to do that this time. We might see a genuine fight around them, and then we might see why Atakan is so feared across the world, fans and players alike.
We might also see a trade, because there's 40 seconds before the Cloud Drake comes up. KC are going to start this one up. TP from Caps to the mid lane. Remember, he has a Realm Warp to get across here. Counter TP coming out from KC. They're not doing too much damage to this Ardakan yet. It's still about 8,000 HP. Skewmon coming in. Realm Warp, as you say, is going to bring Lebrov forward alongside Caps. KC beginning to retreat. Kalist taking so much damage from the ghouls. Heal has to be popped by Targamas. G2, I wonder, do you just let this reset? KC already on the back foot. Just let the Ardakan go about its business.
Ovo je zapravo izvuklo KC što se Atakan resetu. Oni bi ga izgubili da nije. Da je otišao nazad na nekoga iz G2, 4000 health.
Problem je, Kevine, što Atakan je skida rez. To je problem. Što ekipe tankuju Atakan i izgube resistance i onda kad ovi dođu da se team fightuje ti samo izgubio pola statova za džabe. To je najveći problem sa Atakanom.
Šta radimo KC? Šta radimo? Idemo na Zmaja ili idemo na Atakana? Šta radimo?
Čekaj, razmišljaju još. Još razmišljaju.
Aj, jaoj. Samo mogu ovo da okrenu možda. U stvari ne mogu, Kana nema mega. Da ima mega možda. Oh my god.
Still looking for Kalist underneath the tower, but G2 have just rocketed into the lead.
KC don't make a firm decision, so G2 make it for them. They'll get the Atakan, and because of the kills after, damn, some good damage onto Kalist, they will get the soul as well. KC lose everything across the map.
Okay, G2 3-1. Idemo. Ale.
Legitiman take, moram da priznam.
G2 getting everything they want.
I see this again, because Casey had walked down towards mid as for. Targamas stayed around, the engage comes out, but Skewmon just wins out on the smite fight.
And I think the really big difference here is that
you're dobar kavez ovde. Za prvih obojicu.
Jest. Nema nužno kako se bio, mislim, Lucija Nami i pogotovo kad igraš Electricute mora da bude elk performance. Znači, bukvalno mora da bude elk performance, nema druge.
It's a little bit of a disorderly retreat from KC. And they will really have to review what the decision-making was leading up to these objectives.
A little bit all over the place now. Cloud soul for G2. Credit as well to Broken Blade in that fight. Huge amounts of damage coming out. He's had a pretty poor series so far, but on this Yorick, did a lot of work overall for G2, was clipping Callistus consistently with the morning mists.
And now he's at those two items. He has a gold lead and he has a ton of damage.
Ne daje dovoljno, to je najveći problem, mislim. Nije vredan tog trejda koji se događa oko njega često.
Ovo je već onaj klasičan G2. Kad dobiju lead. Oh my god.
I heard they wanted KBBQ, but those plans were cancelled after they lost game 1. Casey trying to defend for
Okej. Ne znam da li si video to.
Ne, nisam.
Vipov komentar. Što je pričao kao da ne može da veruje da je Cloud9 dobio ih 5-0 u skrimovima i izašli na korejski roasted, kao Korean barbecue. Kaže, ne mogu da verujem, kao, to radujete se, jeste nas dobili 5-0 u skrimovima.
Jesam, vidio sam. Na Twitteru. Ili na Redditu, vratno na Redditu. A mislim, ovo je samo game za G2, nema šta.
G2 will back. They'll go spend their money. Rabadon's on its way for caps. There it is. BB upgrades his boots. And for KC, it's a long road back now. The gold lead, deceptive, I would say. With a Cloud Soul, with an Artican, you're looking more at 10k. The advantage overall, rather than just that 4.1 that's on the screen.
And it's not like you outscale. I'd argue you've hit the peak of your team comp, which is, 2 items on the Lucian. Yes, they do scale like any AD carry does, but you're against a Ryze, which has got the death cap, as you mentioned. The Yorick will start to really take over the game in a side lane now. The Gnar is not in a position to cleanly deal with that. KC are hoping on an Elder Flip and a Dream. That's what they're hoping for right now. They need to somehow set up for this objective. Hope that G2 make a mistake. Perhaps they can use a global of the Pantheon into the Galio. They haven't really used that effectively this game. 1 or 2 kills in the early game, but besides that, not that much value. I'd argue the Realm Warp has been the best used global in the game.
I think one of the issues for KC is when you're in this sort of position, you want a support that can get behind enemy lines and get a couple of wards down. And Nami just isn't the person to do that. They're going to go towards the mid lane, looking for Broken Blade, who walks away from Vlad. He's still stunned up with the Winds of War. Last Right's going to heal him up a little bit, but there is the kill for Kana.
BB je malo...
Hero's entrance still available for KC if they want to go for more. As you say, TP behind. Vladdy looking for the flank play here. He's going to be on his lonesome for a second. Second TP coming out from Kana, who has the Mega Gnar. Hansama dives onto Kalista. It's the Carling, misses the mystic shot. Targamas forced away as well. There's the hero's entrance. Kana on Caps. The Realm Warp trying to get him out. But Caps goes down. Vladdy surviving for an absolute age. Escumon looks for the engage. Dodges away from the taunt.
A, lepo.
Lepo.
Podi Bog da ga uveti, da. Mislim, ovo je sad samo G2 ga frafana u ovom trenutku.
On samo pogodio nas s ultijem.
O, sad će on da umre od Lucijana. Dobar skewment, baš dobar skewment ovdje.
Skewment, lepo.
Šta Han završava skewment, cancela recall. Is that viable?
Kako je brz skewment ovaj Dragon Soul u zlo. Gledaj kako leti. Du. G2 skewment, du. Tako ide.
They are 1 win away from Madrid, 1 win away from their 9th Worlds out of 10.
The Samurai Sword strikes twice in the series, perhaps a third to follow. KC would like to very, very much stop that from happening. Fell behind after that series of plays around those big objectives, and G2 tore them apart.
And they did.
Ok, samo su mutovali kastere, ali šta da se radi? Vratili su ih nazad, vratili su nam se, nemojte se brinete ništa. Kasteri su tu. Ali dobro, svakako Lepa partija, nema šta. G2 je stompo, vidit ćemo da li će uspjeti odurati opet još jedna partija dijeli od pobjede ove serije. Tako da, pauzica, 11 minuta, klasika nakon toga. Se vraćamo nazad u potencijalno finalni game ove serije, tako da ostanite s nama, tu smo za 11.
Red Bull gives you wings.
Join the WhatsApp. Join the WhatsApp. Have you joined the WhatsApp? You should join the WhatsApp. Join the WhatsApp.
They're sending into us. Sorry, he's gonna coming. Yeah, he's ulting. Got it. Get ready, get ready. That's fine. That's ready. I've come too. I'm looking early after. Pin him. Looks good, looks good. Bomba! Good job. Illusion coming. No flash fan. I've come, Lucian no stamps, you go and kill him. Guys, LTV. I chase. It's fine. That's what you call discipline, buddy. Look, I'm just wasting his time. Good shit, guys.
And welcome back to the LEC as G2 Esports is one game away from locking worlds and getting their ticket to Madrid. So I joined the G2 army here for a bit because players are having fun on the Rift, but fans are having fun off the Rift. We have a bingo here made by the rats, as you can see here. A lot of things have been taken off the board. Kled, first game, we don't want to see that again. FlexPix, that was the Poppy as well. But what do you guys think is going to be the next one and the final one we can cross off the list here?
I think next one, can I see it? It's like a little bit. I'm sorry. I feel like a new pick is coming because we're game 4. It's fearless, so that one could happen. Or solo bolo, maybe like we see some top lane shenanigans. Who knows?
All right. We know G2 likes to have their fun. At least they're super confident here. So let's see what happens next game. But before that, Ginny, take it away.
Thank you so much, Lore. All right, look, that bingo is really exciting. But
I want the bingo.
Okay, leave. Go.
I will find that fan and I will steal his bingo. We're all gonna play. Like, why do they get to have fun?
You mean borrow it without asking and then not returning it? Because like stealing is like a little bit.
Yeah, that's a little bit illegal, but it's fine.
Can we be ethical?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Pretty much like G2's drafting game 1. That was also illegal.
Oh, whoa!
Wow.
Either way, you know what? Let's break that down. Let's look at the drafts. Let's look at this game 3 here in the series because G2 have really set them up very solidly with this one. And there was this one specific pick, you know, that I was looking at, Vedi, and as a serial EU enjoyer, you've seen it all at this point.
No, I certainly have. And like the drafts, there's a lot to talk about, but there's one thing in particular that really stands out. And why is that? Well, fortunately, our production team have prepared for us a graphic to better illustrate what it is that I'm talking about. Can I present to the audience at home what we describe as EU Lucian?
Oh!
Look at this. EU Lucian. It's something. Now, would I blame Kalist exclusively? Absolutely not. Do I think that he is the problem? No. But can we all agree that perhaps EU Lucian needs to go? Odoamne, would you agree?
Yeah, this champ is ass. I mean, so the thing is, everyone's still dreaming of the times where Lucian was this OP champion. You know, you have this fantasy that, oh, I'm picking Lucian, I have Nami in my team, I'm going to dash on the mid lane and someone's going to die. Yeah, that's not happening anymore, you know?
Yes, someone does die, but it's not the other person.
Usually the Lucian that dies, you know, but that's just, we don't talk about that. It's one of these picks where you really need a lot of time to ramp up. And honestly, I don't really blame KC for trying it because I do feel like you're in dangerous territory where you're in game 3 fearless, game 4 fearless, melee supports are out, you kind of have to start cooking, and that's why everything kind of starts going wonky, and you do need to bring out the desperate situation, Lucian, that, you know, it's way too desperate.
Because obviously we're having a bit of fun here, right? But we were talking about in this game, it felt like that KC were just very limited in their options. And especially when we see the Arakan fight that kind of just cemented the game, it felt like that it was so difficult for KC to actually really get any setups around these objectives specifically.
Well, it was more so a tale for both of these teams because I feel like when you don't have a lot of engaged tools, well, as we can see the Atakan dance happening right now, is that usually you have this team that, you know, tanks Atakan, the other one swoops in, steals the objective. But this is the first time where I see, you know, the other team taking it over. Okay, now it's your Atakan about like 3 or 4 times, you know, because at some point, KC is running to mid lane, G2 thinks that it's just for free. Now they're jumping back in with Pantheon at the same time. So this is just to showcase that silent prio is most important. That's the biggest segue that I can say is the silent prio is just most important because we reach this point in the series where it just feels so incredibly hard for one team to, you know, find proper ways to convert this lead because you just don't have enough tools. As we can see, the replay is still going, and that's the whole point of it, to be ridiculously long over how hard it actually is to get objectives.
Didn't you want to teach us, like,
it very much felt like a dance where it's like you put your left foot in, and then you take your left foot out, and then you put your left foot in, and then you take your left foot out, and then you put your left foot in, and then you take your left foot out, and then you get Jarvan ulted in the face, and then you die. So like, it definitely felt like that it was a dance where neither team really wanted to take that right foot in approach, right? And as Odo highlighted,
their foot is broken, they're handicapped, they can't really like put it forward anymore.
It's obviously very difficult with the compositions that they do have, but in the end, it was G2 that pulled the trigger, and I think the way that they navigated around these fights was ultimately better than what we saw from KC. I think the pressure, I mean, naturally, it's really on now for KC. Being in this position, they're down a game. Drafting as the series goes on, I think has, throughout this year, always been a point of criticism for this team. We've often questioned, like, Kana's pool is often one that gets targeted, where we say, how many more champions does he have the later you go into the series? But I think that this is starting to expand across the roster, and this question is really starting to go, because with G2, that question rarely gets brought up. They've always got something. It doesn't always work, admittedly, but they've always got something prepared. And so the question for KC is, what will they show us now that can help them get back into this series and bring us to a game 5?
Yeah, we need that creativity. We need those drafts to be on point, and they pick red side. So any specific game plan that you think here would actually allow them to equalize it?
Well, the thing is, now we reached the point where the red side, I believe, is a little bit stronger, just because you can get counter picks, you can get, lane prio, because as we saw how important it was in this game 3. So honestly, it's a little bit more of a challenge to make the whole team comp fit, because we saw it from G2 in game 1, where they had all the options and it still fell apart. So now the question is, how much prio can you get to your picks, and how much you can, navigate this whole drafting sequence to still have a cohesive team comp?
That's the question that they're going to have to answer in this game, because this is their final shot to equalize. G2 looking at a straight ticket to Worlds and the Madrid finals, looking to win a trophy this year here in the LEC. But can they do it in a 3-1 fashion? We'll find out with our casters, Medic and Nymera.
I've lost real name privileges.
I'm sorry, man. I brought you down to my level as we get ready for game 4 of this best of 5. For KC, back to the drawing board a little bit. The Nami Lucian worked for a bit in lane, didn't have the success they wanted. They didn't get a single dragon with a pressuring bot lane, which is something you really want to find. Didn't really have as much impact from the other roles as they would like either. For G2, it was a bit of an up and down game. There were a few moments of failure, but then after they started stacking those Drakes and getting the pressure through the mid lane, they were in a very strong position.
And as soon as you saw openings for the Jarvan, Skewmond went a Duncan. It's really easy to forget. This guy's on his debut year in LEC. I think he's been fantastic in this split, and he's shown a lot of good gameplay in this series so far. Of course, Jungle Pool is also getting really hit now too. Not that many AD skirmishes left, which have been the choice of the meta, really. I've mentioned about on the desk as well, a lot of priority lanes being quite valuable now. KC have moved over to red side. They will be able to get that counter picking, and that does mean potentially our bans change a little bit too. Of course, Pantheon made it through last time. Was banned in the first 2 games, but not the third where it was played. Talia was one of our standard ones. Azir was the other one, the sore thumb sticking out.
Azir and Yunara are both up right now. So KC have a decision to make. Do you ban the Azir, give away Yunara? Do you ban the Yunara, give away Azir? I think, although Kallista's had some...
Do you leave both up?
He's had some mistakes. I would probably give Yunara and expect Kalista and Targamas to be able to play into it, because you can still play a Hypercarry, you can still play a Thelios Thresh, you can still play Jinx Thresh, you can play Jinx Lulu. You can still like scale into it. Instead, they're going to leave both up.
Yeah, okay.
Get rid of
Evo nas nas finalni draft. Potencijalno. Možda i nije, možda ja projektujem, ko će ga znati.
Alrighty, Yunara been very strong in lane here in EU. You start that Q and you get threaten that reset. KC need to find a way to, yes, either scale up alongside the Yunara or find a way to dive onto
Azir Yunara trade, okej.
Pa dobro, mislim da je to čak i... Mislim da je to čak i okej.
Dobro, da, mislim da je okej. Mislim da ako ćeš dati Aziru, možeš ga tradeovati za nešto, ono kao...
EU Maokai, though, we love that a little bit more.
We do like a good EU Maokai. Also, I like what it does for KC's composition already. You see they're saying frontline plus damage dealers, and that's what's worked so far for this series. G2, they're looking towards the Ziggs mid here for Caps, and of course still decide to delay that. It's going to be locked in.
There we go. All right, so for Caps in the mid lane, very likely. Outside of some random switch of Yunara into top lane or something like that. We've seen a couple of teams try this out, particularly BLG and LPL have really liked playing the Ziggs into the Azir. I think for a number of years, teams were really reticent to pick this up. It has been a good pick into Azir for a while. One of the ways you beat Azir is to slightly outrange him, poke him off the place, and you can't exactly sustain up there. They have themselves a strong front line as well. Both teams figuring out what we found out in the first 2 games. Strong front line.
A mislim, očigledno u skrimovima Ziggs je radio čuda. Uzet ću obzir da ovo nije prvi put da vidimo ovo da je pikovano kao counter pick.
But that's what I
Da, da.
see. Exactly. It comes down. No, that's exactly what I want this series to be about. I want it to be about execution. I want it to be on fingers on mice and keyboards. Who plays it out better? Because both these teams look very comfortable in Game 1 and Game 2. A strong front line, ranged, scaling backline.
And we have the Jin locked in for Calista. It's been 5 years since Caps last brought out the Ziggs.
Jeez, really?
Yeah, it's 2020 spring playoffs against Mad Lions. He lost that game,
right?
But he beat XL earlier in the spring. So he's 50% win rate on it all time.
Wow.
1-1.
I mean, it's just a coin flip for the game then, man.
No.
Don't lie.
Might as well just flip it right now.
50% win rate. On igru 2 gejma. Ok. Super.
Big Mets, Big Mets.
Superlative disengage tool. The ability just to pop the paranoia when the enemy team tries to engage, when they put down, for example, the grasping roots, right? When the Maokai ult comes up, just pop the paranoia. It's like, how does the Azir know where to go? How does he get on towards that backline? Not grasping roots.
Nature's grasp.
Nature's grasp.
I was
there we
going to let that go. I was going
Nature's
to.
grasp is no. We have to be correct here. I have to be correct.
Oh, that's the problem here, man.
That's a struggle sometimes. Aatrox the second ban here for G2. I wonder if Casey will continue to pinch that jungler pool, as you said. It's already lacking quite a lot. The Trundle has already been banned out alongside that Nocturne.
I actually wonder, are we going to see the Morgana at this point in jungle? Yeah. The Vi's gone by. We talked about it being kind of powerful in solo queue. Baytron played it for BLG earlier today, which we mentioned earlier. I get to have like 2 LPL references a day. That's about it. I've hit my quota now. But I do wonder whether that's the question now. You can use that Black Shield against Nature's Grasp, as we discussed earlier. And again, have a bit more of that ranged advantage. You do wonder. It looks like we've got quite, again, very structured, front-to-back, standoff team fights. A lot of range involved for frontline trying to give those carries space.
A mislim, ništa turbo spec u draftu za sad. Ok, ajde vidimo Zigza da se češće pika u Azir, ali to je otprilike to.
The Ziggs and the Yanara don't get caught out with that tempered fate. KC have to pick first. Can just pick a top laner into the Sion. You already know the matchup that you're going to be playing into. And then leave your support for last if you want Targamas to get a counter pick.
Yeah, there's a world, I suppose, where you could also flex the Maokai into support.
True.
Less likely, but just worth putting that on the table too. Think about that. Picking him. All right. Okay. Now that's a Kana champion saying, all right, square up, BB. Square up. Kana, on the whole, got the better of BB across this series. Now, it's 3 games. I think 1 was to the side of BB and that Yorick very much so. The other 2, I think Kana was really dealing well with the matchups he was given there. Now, the Jace into the side can be very risky. You mess up once, a chunk comes through from the side, and actually, something like the Ziggs roaming up with an ultimate, or whichever jungler comes in, can be a real problem for you. Kana will have to be aware of the threat which G2 can bring to his lane.
And the Jace is banned against Carmine Corp in
XY.
70% of their games because Kana is just really good at it.
Ništa, bukvalno, znači draft je full vanilla za ovaj game, što za G2 razumem, za KC možda ne razumem. Jer kao ako imaju neki klač, nešto specijalno, sad je vreme da izvuku. I na kraju opet G2 taj koji vadi nešto čudno.
Lexi i Maokai je support.
Znači da igram Maokai u Brauma, nisam baš siguran koliko im je to play, ali ajde.
Jace is not safe under tower anymore. That's the huge reason. If you ever get a wave push in, it's a big problem because Yorick, the Volibear, turns off the tower. You are not safe. Also, point and click stun. The Ziggs ult comes over the top of it. It's another way to set up for that too. There isn't much setup for the Ziggs. That's all you're getting here. It's not like you have a Jarvan or Leona or something like that. Caps is going to be somewhat on his own when it comes to...
ovaj je pravi, vidi ga. Vidi ga kako je lud. Ok, kao sad malo aura farmuje. Jer ga je dodirnula devojka, verovatno mu je rekla kao smiri se, blamiraš nas. Šta reći?
Ja ne znam kako Maokai igrao. Legitimno ne vidim kako Maokai igrao Brauma. Bukvalno, znači ja ne znam. Šta on radi? On baci W i umre. U kom svetu to radi, ja pojma nemam. Ali dobro, mislim, ajde, ne znam. Vidjeli su meče, birali su ga. Znaju nešto što mi ne znamo, očigledno. Nisu samo htjeli da podele s nama. Ali mislim da čak i da im je bio play da iznenade sa sa jungle pikom, toliko su polomili sami sebi botlane da mislim da nije vrijedno od toga svejedno.
Da bi na kraju pikovali se Joani.
Pa, mislim, to ti kažem, ne znam. Kao tada dobili su nešto, nisu. Ko legitimni spec. Ali ajde, to je okej. To je okej, šta da se radi. XY, hvala ti, brate moj.
Ti igraju ovaj Zig skin.
Znaš kako, Ziggs ima baš dobre skinove overall. On je jedan od heroja koji, čak i oni njegovi najstariji skinovi su gigagoted. Tipo onaj alkimist sa staklom što baca je meni bruka dobar skin.
To jeste, taj isto igraju dosta. Taj baš jeste isto dobar. Ja imam onaj Battle Boss. Ali nisam igrao, baš ne igram često Ziggsa i onda ne znam kako izgleda zapravo skin u gameu.
Ja sam Ziggs enjoyer u svakom slučaju, ali samo je... Čak i taj stari sa staklom je, čak i onaj drugi, onaj kapetan sa onim crnim bombicama isto je...
Jeste, istina.
Svaki skin mu je dobar, bukvalno, svaki skin mu je dobar. Mislim, naravno, okej, ovi noviji su dobri, sve to stoje, ali kao kad vidiš heroja komu su prva dva skina dobra, znaš da su nešto dobro radili s tim.
Objective steal. There was an objective steal too, I'm pretty sure. There've been a few, yikes, in game 1 and 2. No. Now, we are casters of League of Legends, but if I was a caster of Bingo, I'd be having issues with that.
Well, as a caster of Bingo, I don't think your job is to go around and make sure everyone's ticked off the Bingo chart properly. I think you just say, 2 polar bears, 88. Pair of umbrellas,
all
11.
The ducks, 22. Yep. Have you ever thought about doing just a completely wrong one for that?
Ali kon sam primio damaža.
Entirely different thing as Kalista and Targamas trade into Lebrov and Han Summer. There's the heal early. They're looking for that Winter's Bite concussive blows. Need a couple of autos. Kalista gets underneath this tower just in time. However, the KC bot lane is hurting.
Yeah, that level 1, level 2 from the Yunara and the Brawl.
Ne mogu ih sve igraju u lanu, vrate, u kancelariji su svi.
You slow them into the Brawl queue and get that confirmation of the passive pretty easily on the whole.
Bar je taj deo Rio dosta ispeglao što se tiče ono koliko ljudi mogu da trolaju to kada čak kazni ekipe ako bacaju surrender. Čak ne smiju da bace ni FF, iako znaju će izgubi game, ne smiju se predaju.
Zato se zaletiš onako, kao izgubiš fight, samo da vi...
Ups, da su nas ace-ovali, ovo šta ćemo sad, idemo sljedeći game. Šta da se radi.
Kana se malo zeznuo, primio je turret hit.
Nezgodno jer igraš Jace-a u Siona i samo želiš konstantno da praviš pressure, ali onda istovremeno nije baš najlakša stvar ikada. I onda je malo unlucky situacija gdje... Znaš, ono, realno gledano šta radiš. Moraš da igraš agro, moraš da pokažeš da se samo nekad dogodi i završi ispod kule. Igrao sam skoro Yasuo u Vlada, fazon isto sam popio nekoliko turret shotova više nego planirano jer kao šta ću. Moram da mu pokažem ko je šef.
Ali Kana, nažalost, izgrifovao to što je primio turret shot.
The man of tomorrow fell today. Jace dead for first blood. That is a problem. Kana really wanted to get ahead in this matchup. Gonna start from a bit of an awkward spot.
Bibi se neće uspjeti da recalluje, ja mislim. A ne, hoće. Wow, ovo je baš bilo istajmovano.
Reset actually coming out from Han Summer. Perfectly timed to catch this wave. So no minions going to be lost here for G2. Brokenblade catches the bot side. This is earlier than we have been seeing it. Usually happens in about 3 minutes time. But it seems like G2 are very happy to put BB in a 2v1 if needs be.
But look at the way the wave is set up as well. When you go for a lane swap, you want to meet the wave right at your tower so you can catch it right about here. They do that on both sides of the map. Typically get that set up for one side of it, but because of the death in top side while Canon was trying to crash it in, means that Hans can pick it up at the tower. On the other side, BB does the same on the bot side of the map. So G2 getting a good amount from both of them, and they get to choose what they do with the waves. If you have the wave on your side, typically you can set up for a slow crash, but you can also try and freeze it out if the situation's right as well. What it means though is G2 get the choice, and that's the important thing.
G2 will be very happy with that early sequence. About 700 gold ahead as well. Cap's getting a little bit of a lead in the mid lane, but the majority of that obviously sitting on Skumond and Broken Blade. There's a dragon up in this bot side, but I don't think either team's really going to want to play around it too early on. You know, undermanned on this side of the map right now, with your bot lanes being up towards top. Labrov getting a bit of vision in towards the enemy jungle, and you can see the pings from KC being like, we're not quite sure where he is. It's probably around mid right now, so step back, Vladdy, be wary. Again, Labrov is, man, this is true support gameplay. He catches the bot wave to make sure Broken Blade doesn't lose any minions. He then catches the mid wave to make sure Caps doesn't lose any minions. And then he shepherds Skumond into the jungle to steal away these razor beaks.
It just reminds me of, you know, back in the day, back in like 2013, 2014, where you get more tower kills than champion kills. Like, oh man, the rotations, that's the gameplay we're here for. This feels like the more modern nature of it. It's all about
Da, nisam rekao. G2 3-1.
Kako drugačije?
Zaboravio, samo da napomenem.
Kako drugačije, realno?
Not getting any gold because they have to spend it all on wards and such, to now support's not getting any gold because they're never near the minions to actually last hit them.
Isn't that arguably worse because it's just so tantalizingly close, and yet it's not
Please let me auto this minion. The Drake though, taken by KC, knowing there was an investment in the top side by G2, so they do get themselves on the board in terms of neutral objectives. And for now, they'll be okay with that. They are bleeding a little bit across the map, but it's nothing too consequential, especially since they do scale well into this game. Jace Shock Blast, you've got the Azir, you've got Jin, who can do damage, even though I know a lot of you think he can't. Super slow there onto Targamas. They go for Kalist. There's the stun. Immediately cleanses and gets the heal from Targamas as well. The root coming out from the tree. Dodges away from the stun and steps back in. Yike was just around the corner in the tri-bush. Decides against going any further.
And again, just look, they get to choose where the wave is. They choose, look, we're going to hold it here, take a good trade, and then we can push out when you have to recall. This is what happens when lane swaps go well, and you get the choice of where your lanes are. That is, you know, a minute or two in the making at points, and I think that G2 do very well there. You know, Kalist blows the cleanse, will be able to get that wave at turret, but you see the threat. G2 having the choice of what they do with the waves is what makes that important.
Looks like it's going to be back up towards the top side for Han Summer. Has hit that level 6, can transcend himself. Broken Blade, no TP, so he's going to lose a couple of minions to this tower. Just having a quick look to see what Kana was maxing second there.
Sion ult. Who needs a teleport?
Unstoppable. He'll still lose a couple of minions. One. He did lose it. He'll come back in and get it. Okay, look, man.
We're really trying.
Betty would never do this to me. I mean, I'm just saying.
Look, our voices are very similar.
That is true, actually. People probably think it's a Medi cast right now. Broken Blade will just push out that bot wave. I was looking, we had some information from Odo that often Jaces will max E second against the Sion. I think he's maxing W.
Što volim što ima igrače on demand. To mi je jako cool.
Yeah, I think in this case, I think you know, you're eventually going to transition to a role where you're much more about
kao chilla odamne, pored nešto ne znaš za matchup, samo uzmeš pitaš odamne. A ko ne zna, verovatno ne zna niko. To je ono ko kad su imali onaj double glowing mood start na Rumble, ja sam se izgubio, ja sam u fazonu WTF, smo imali šanse da pitamo koča i kao legitiman strat zbog toga i toga i kako, ok, cool, ok, naučio sam nešto novo. Iako mi i dalje, to nismo vidjeli nijedan game od Rumble-a, iako je kao strat, ne mogu zamisliti da daš 500 golda za 10 ability haste u lane-u. Kao ki super level 1 cheese overhitters i šta nakon toga, šta ako ne dobiješ kill, ulaziš u lane bez statova.
To jeste. Mislim, ja ne mogu da kažem sam. Mislim da sam video u solo kill, taj start, mnogo više nego kao na pro playu. Jer je jako greedy, što ti kažeš kao.
Baš to, mislim. Kao okej, sve to super cheese i sve ostalo, ali šta nakon toga, bukvalno.
Better than it was before in some methods where it really was, well, you get a chem tank and one item. That's really what you achieve in the game. Actually, Yike could go for it.
Yeah, Skumond used the smite here, and Yike knows, oh! Oh no, he does steal it. It's just Skumon gets the credit because he got 2
What happens is, when someone gets 2 out of the 3, it doesn't matter who kills the last one, it will always show up as the person who killed the 2. So it's like, oh, his Volleybag comes up on the kill feed. No, he doesn't get the 3rd one, he just gets 2 out of the 3.
It was a good ward on the grubs though.
Činjenica da je Kana umro je jako veliki problem. Kao ok, ima priority na lane, ali ne može ništa si ono da uradi. A ne može onako da stane pored njega da bije turret. Nije dovoljno snažan.
Mostly in the jungle, you can see Skumon has about a 10 CS lead. There's a little bit in mid and bot lane as well, because the lane swaps have, as you said, been played just that little bit better. As Hansama tried to get onto Kalis, but doesn't quite have the damage to take.
Jer ga mogu ubiti da je ultova.
Nisam sigurno, mislim je bilo close previše. Niste ali ja flipaju.
Perks tu flipa. 100%. Nije to to.
You know, blessing the Ziggs gods that less people are building Seraphs nowadays.
Vraćamo perks died for this meme.
Now the Ziggs does need to actually hit a lot of skill shots. There is less point and click CC than something like the Leona, Rakan, Nautilus kind of combos we often see the Ziggs with, regardless of whether he's in bot lane or in mid lane. So keep an eye on the skill shot accuracy from Caps actually.
Yeah. Keep an eye on that Mega Inferno bomb as well. Because what you tend to see is someone locked up with concussive blows or Cyano and then Mega Inferno Bomb just on their face. And it's like, you can flash away from this, but then you burn that summoner just to get out of the big AoE DPS coming out from Caps. He's going E second as well for his max, the Hexplosive Minefield instead of the Satchel, which I do think we saw in the LCK. Maybe Chovy did it, I want to say.
Can't remember the player, but I do remember a Twitter conversation about it.
Orcs was very angry. That's what I tend to remember about those sorts of situations. Might not have been Chovy, but we did see it recently as G2 set up around this bot side for the Drake. Hansama dodging away from the Deadly Flourish. Sun has both those summoners. In fact, pretty much all the summoners across the board are up. Those TPs in the top side not available, but Broken Blade's already across here. Kana's working his way down, just leaving base right now. G2 have already started the Dragon. AC might just give up the Ghost on this one. I think that's what they'll do. They got the first, they're okay with that. Chem taken by G2. And it's another Cloud Soul to grace the Rift, Alex.
Još idemo oko je Redemption.
One of those early dragons. KC not in a position to contest.
Ne znam šta se desilo da se zameni Redemption za... da se zameni Locket za Redemption kao prvi item. Jer smatraju samo da je heal bolji.
Onda možda i smatraju da ne mogu da ubiju, da ne mogu da umru u rotaciji i damage-a. A Redemption ti vraća više nego što je Locket preventa, tako da... To je jedina stvar koja mi ima smisla. Ako možda preživiš brst, onda ti je veći value da Redemption još posle. Nego da probaš da spreči. U ovom slučaju bolje lečiti nego sprečiti.
Joj!
Lepo, 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 lepo. Junara je samo... Junara je samo heroj.
Ok, 3-1, idemo. Ale. Koji je ovo skin za Volibera uopšte?
Nisam siguran.
Ajde, solo killuj, molim te, Sionom.
O!
Jaj, nevjerovatno.
Tower falls to Caps. Vladdy on the chase. Yike trying to get in here as well. Has that Glacial Prison, but won't go for it. Currently a 3v4 in favor of G2. And KC just have to settle for the chip damage on the G2 players.
My god, šta se desilo? Ja ne znam da li si vidio, mislim, ako nisi gledao NA, sinoć, uzme kill contract i beži tu kod drugog mid tureta, kod Vukova. I sa Jarvanom pređe preko zida.
Dobro.
I odmah stane pored zida da se recola. I Maokai baci sapling preko zida. I sapling nema visiona na njega. I nije otišao da ga udari. A uzo bi kill. Bukvalno Jarvan vidi sapling ne vidi Jarvana.
To je već turbo unlock ugao.
Da, jako.
Kalist struggling to deal with this Yunara. You see why it has been banned out so often in the series, although it has been G2 doing the banning, not wanting to give it to KC. as that first pick on blue side.
Jer ovo najveće liče smo vidjeli u ovoj seriji.
Ovako rano da, ja mislim.
At some point, KC are going to have to start grouping up and using their range advantage. That'll normally be around objectives. My worry is they've given up too much now.
Yeah.
That is my worry. They're going to have to somehow claw their way back into the game, giving up an objective or two. Perhaps doesn't look like that much now, but giving over Herald maybe opens up something like a Herald with a Volibear alt tower dive later on. They don't want to give this up too easily.
But how do you really contest? You don't have completed items on your mid, on your AD carry. You've got Heart Steel. Cool, Yikes getting some stacks, and it will, if he gets enough, scale up through the game, but it's just not damage right now. Yumu's complete on Kana, but he's not there really to do too much right now. Can't even get through the shield on the Scion. And if you're KC, you're like, well, who usually carries us? Kana can be really good. Yike getting caught out. LeBron trying to flash forward. Stormbringer in
Ode cool offline.
Ode Yike.
Down goes Yike. G2 Hans Summer here as well. The curtains have opened. The wave not cleared out. Rift Herald coming down. It might just be a tier 2 here, Nymera.
They have the Ziggs. It's the Herald Ziggs charge. They didn't respect the volley barrel. It's going to be a huge inner turret push.
There it goes. G2 might just try and shepherd.
Ko je Ziggs dobar za snowballovanje partije, to je nekome na nesto je.
Kana says nope.
Car's broken down. Need a replacement. What did Finn call it?
Call the AAA quickly.
The company car for... Honestly, that was fantastic.
But G2, like 5,000 gold ahead right now. They are in such a strong position. Everyone with a sizable chunk of change in their advantage. For KC, after a very solid game 1, things have kind of fallen apart, especially here in game 4. They do still have roads back to Worlds, roads back to Madrid. They'll take on Vitality if they lose this game.
All roads leads to me.
Then you're down to the lower side of the bracket. One loss knocks you out.
Oh, ult.
Da ga pogodio. Oh my god, šta je ovo bilo?
That's some Tokyo drifting if I've ever seen it. Bounces off one wall into the other.
Zna priču, zna priču.
We call that a messenger in bowling.
I mean, most of the players on the Rift are playing League of Legends. Broken
Blades,
I didn't even know that was possible. Another turret will come in with the Ziggs satchel charge. That'll be the full outer ring down, plus the inner and top lane. And the goal
to je moguće. Sad sam video nazad, vratio se nazad malo da vidim. Moguće je to uraditi čak i na drugim zidovima. To sam ja radio kao u practice toolu, pokušavao sa Sionom. Jer imaju neki čudna mesta na zidu gdje ako pomeriš, radiš Sionov ulti skroz, miš na jednu stranu, on se odbije pod 90 stepeni od zid iz nekog razloga.
To zvuči kao razlog za chrono break.
Tačno imaju videi gdje pokazuju to kako se radi. Ja sam onda pokušavao da... Imitiram, nisam nikad uspio u gameu, ali jesam kao u practice tool uspeo da odradim.
They just can't quite find the angle. Goes a little bit too far as Targan was looking for caps. You kind of have to get onto him. I understand the decision making, but the execution doesn't leave him with enough follow-up to capitalize.
Yeah, it reeks of desperation. Yeah. Really, your AD carries down, you're looking for something. Yes, if it had worked, great. You get a bounty, you get some gold back in your pockets, but it's a one-way mission. At that point, you are going hell for leather and just hoping that you can survive. Now no flash on Targamas, does have the unsealed spellbook. Heal and cleanse his current options.
Like the lone wolf mission on Halo Reach. Objective survive.
A mislim Maokai, ne znam šta će Maokai da uradi. Nam useless uđe umre samo instant. To smo pričali već.
It is the most dominant early game we have seen so far this series.
And a real credit to Hans and Lavrov too, who have used slight edges from the lane swap into the wave manipulation, into good trades, and then just breaking down this bot lane bit by bit. I think Hans and Lavrov did a great job of taking a small advantage, which we highlighted from that lane swap, and made it into something much, much more than that. G2, their snowballing instincts in this game have been really, really good.
Zašto Niski nije ušao umjesto Kalista u ovu partiju da igra malo?
It definitely has. KC have had some solid signs throughout it, but you can see in this game, not too much to smile at.
Ne znam, iskreno legitimno pitanje. Mislim da s njim, mislim da je on bukvalno samo meme.
Ja mislim da je on ono kao positional coach. samo to. Kao daje Vladiju njegovu perspektivu viđenja kako određene stvari da igra, kao što recimo Odoamne radi za Lost Retones i kao što su i bili i drugi neki ono kao positional coachevi.
Between the uprights, Kana flashes it. LeBron looking like Glacial Fisher. Decimating smash.
Oh my god.
Die. KC lose two in the blink of an eye.
G2, that was
Ubiše ih.
disgusting. Blink and you miss it. Two dead from KC. And the base comes crumbling down. The inhibitor turret falls.
To legit ih ubiše.
Ne mogu da verujem da sam pogodio da će biti 3-1 za G2.
Znao si, Mare, znao si. Ne znam kako si uspio to da uradiš. Iskreno goated caster moment. 20. minut, 8100 golda.
LeBron's going to try and keep Yike at bay. Maybe he can steal TP coming in from Vladdy. The curtain's open. Will there be an encore for KC or is the show over? Curtain call.
Ooh! Ajoj!
Still going on to Skewmon here, the flash away from Skewmon has the blast code, but played on the wrong side of the wall. LeBron trying to retreat from Yike. Skewmon will be able to get away. Caps opens up onto Targamas. LeBron coming back to rejoin with his team in the end. G2 do lose their AD carry just to Vladdy, but they won't lose much more. Kana stayed around. Thought he could find something. Broken Blade will chase him out. Will G2 continue to chase in? Kana avoids the knock up there from Broken Blade by knocking him back, and in the end G2 will call off any further fight.
That's about as good as it gets for KC, and it feels so bad for them because they get the AD carry, but nothing else. They still lose the Atacana. Reminder, their base was broken just before this too. The Jinot's not bad. They take a lot of HP off with the fourth shot, and Vladdy tries so hard to get onto Handsome. To just take away a tiny bit of damage, which does enough, and luckily just survives. If he managed to sweep back the whole team, perhaps they've been a little bit more that. Lucky to survive at the end of that, actually.
Yeah, it was the Leandri's burn. He just completed it after taking the top tier 1. So, good item pickup there for Vladdy.
KC have invested a lot into this Azir to get that. Yep. Now, he's even in gold. That has been at the cost of losing so much in the base, but at least it leads to something that Daniel put into the Vladdy basket, hoping that the Azir can somehow scale and carry.
Kana my king.
The question is, can he?
Po boga mi, ovaj game je... Ovo je evropski Jace, on je onaj korejski Jace.
Jester.
Had a struggle after getting ahead in the early game. Part of that comes down to composition. Also part of it to his execution on the day. Right now, G2 in such a commanding position. The fortunate thing for KC is it's not soul for G2 on this Cloud Drake. They will get it. KC can't really challenge. They're trying to find things on the other side of the map, which does make sense. But because they were able to get that Infernal Drake earlier, due to the lane swaps, KC have bought themselves 5 minutes of some sort of semblance of quiet, some semblance of peace, or as much peace as you can find when you are 7,000 gold behind.
Yeah, it's time to lick their wounds, really. Put the bandages on, square up for another round. KC do not want to let this go if they can help it. Very, very hard to come back in a game like this, though. Now, they have waited to try and scale. Very hard, though, to take winning fights against a Scion that is so tanky. And the volley bet that can even turn off your turrets. He's gone towards, a bit more tanky build after that first item. Now volley bear and Skewmon, he's just going to dunk you on the turret. You don't even get to use that very much.
The thing is, like, Skewmon doesn't need the damage the Flicker Blades provides. A solo Q build does work incredibly effectively with the Jack of all trades, but instead Iceborne Gauntlet, the Spectre's Cow going up.
A mislim mogu da čekaju i Barona i onda da probaju s Baronom da otvore bazu, onda uzmu Soul. Jer Forest je jedan dobar fight kad imaš Zigza, to je samo kraj partije, tako da...
Kana is pushed up here, but he's going to recall. He's going to go for the extra wave. G2 just denying everything they can out of the jungle. Now, with Baron up in a minute, we get to see G2. Do they dot their I's and cross their T's? Do KC find some way of sneaking a bit of vision behind, finding a good TP flank perhaps?
Yeah, I think KC are in a similar situation that we saw in game, I suppose game 3 we saw at points of this, right? Well, and game 2 as well, a little bit. Well, the games that they've been losing, of course. They're now looking for objective steals and real big misplays from G2. They've lost agency in this game. They don't get to call the shots. They were waiting to see if they could accrue enough items to make a play. I think if Vladdy gets towards Void Staff, maybe we can have another conversation about that. Does have the Blighting Jewel already. The rest of his team is not going to be at that point of power. I mean, this is a very anemic Jhin, does not have something like the Infinity Edge just yet. I mean, it's okay items on counter resolve, but it's not percent pen. So the Scion is going to be ruling supreme.
Tako ti ide, Mato, tako to ide. Duše, eto, 25 minuti i dalje G2. Igraju na safe end, neće da flipaju ništa.
KC, can they make it happen, or G2, will they just continue this incredible snowball they've done this game?
Yeah, talked about possible sneaky wards. There's one just outside the Baron pit there for KC. Put a control ward in themselves. They do have a little bit of vision on G2 if they did decide to start up the big purple worm. Broken Blade just clearing out the mid wave. Hansama's going to be given all of this gold, building up towards his own Infinity Edge, quite possibly, with the Kraken and the Runeans already complete. Broken Blade, now this is a bit of a choke point. Broken Blade can tank for a while. Skumon can look for the engage. Gets shot blasted, doesn't take too much of his health and walks away. G2 playing around vision more than anything else. They're not really looking for a fight. If one offers itself into their open hands, they'll happily take it, but
kako su krenuli sudija, sve je moguće.
And I think particularly Skumon does actually need to still play realistically. He can get burst out. The volley bear is not a hyper tank.
Caps chill. Sam si s te strane. Ok, force TP. Fine.
No.
Ide voz.
To je Baron. Ja mislim da jeste i dalje, da. Ali lepo je Volibearov skin.
Jest, ne znam koji je, ali lep je.
Meni je dalo kao neki Spirit Blossom, ali nije Spirit Blossom.
Možda je nešto novo izašlo što to.
Čuju, baš se pitam je.
They've got themselves one kill in this game, folks. They have been well and truly shut out. G2 domination here in game 4. KC have barely seen daylight.
Spirit Blossom Springs Volibear.
Eto.
Lep skin, jako lep skin.
Toga Baron, Soul za minu 10.
Great flash, Satchel into the flash as you say, so close, but as soon as they don't catch him, they know they are in for a world of hurt.
Realistically, KC have to play around slim margins. This is not a bad attempt. There is an isolated carry with frontline a little bit further away. That's as good as it gets. The fact that even that doesn't work is galling for KC. Great turnaround by the tanky members of G2.
Said ban volleyball. Apparently that's what you need to do. 40 seconds before Cloud Soul available to G2. On top of Alonso coming in again as they go for Kana. Exhaust him immediately. The chase from Cats. The satchel.
Lepo.
Makes Kana meet his maker. Broken Blade distracting the rest of KC.
Ne znam zašto su dali G2 da šalju sve igrače u WC. Ne znam si vidio taj komentar. Evo baš je bilo ludo između...
Bilo je, Twitter je, mislim ne znam si gledao Twitter na Redditu, ali svako je da mreže su fan ovih dana.
Da, baš je neko čudno ludilo se pojavilo.
Neka, samo nek su oni trluckaju, ode kula. Labro, voće shield, pašće možda pre zadnjeg šota. Op! Pa ljudi od svih, ne baš na kapsa.
Da li je Vladi mogao da... Radi Bibi. Dobro, okej, ne mogu da ga ubiju, pa da... Wow! Ja mislim da se treba još malo nerfovati Sion, iskreno. A champion je lud.
Savršeno balansiran, kao što bi sve stvari trebale biti, ako mene pitaš.
4-0-3, BB, we said, oh, you know, start of the series, not fantastic from him.
Lepo igra Bibi duše, baš lepo igra. Uzeli su Soul, uzeli su Barona, Casey ima 2 kule, 1 kill. Malo tužno iskreno za ekipu Casey-a.
Full party Marina je bilo. Najbijalo, da. Sljedeće godine kad malo dobijem na mišiću masi, bit će to bolje. Tada će izgledati kao pola sajne na posljednjeg dana, na onoj košulji, znači baš je ogromno izgledao.
Hvala ti kolega. Juče sam imao lepu diskusiju sa ChatGPT-em koliko imam masti na telu. To je bilo jako fan, tako da znam da sam postao zoomer kada pitam ChatGPT koliki mi je body fat. ChatGPT je rekao 13%, što je iznenađujuće precizno. To jest ono, iznenađujuće se slažem, pošto ja nisam baš nešto ChatGPT believer. Sam bio u fazonu, okej, ChatGPT u stvari ima smisla. To je bilo dosta interesantno.
Šta ti je sve tražio kao informacija da ti uopšte da taj...
Uploaduješ sliku i kažeš analiziraj sliku, break it down in detail. Ne moraš ništa. Mislim, posle sam ja se nešto sprdo, video sam koliko mi ono daje kalorija i sve to čisto for fun. Onda sam stavio visinu, težinu i to. Ali pre toga samo staviš sliku da ti uradi detaljne breakdown i bukvalno ti kaže sve. Kao ono, na osnovu čega ti daje stvari koje ti daje.
Ok, probat ću.
Tako da jako interesantno.
Šta će mi reći?
I rekao mi je chat GPT za 8 do 9 nedelja ričujem... Šta je rekao? 9% je, mislim tako nešto. Ako nastavimo ovako. Tako da okej, možda ne.
Okej, ali ti sad katuješ do decembra.
Pa da.
Pa to je to. To je taman.
Pa dobro, ovo mi je reklo do kraja novembra, ali okej. To jest septembar, oktobar, znači do početka novembra. Ali vidjet ću. Sam više for fun uradio kao eksperimenta i G2 se ovdje zabavlja. Ekipa KC-a nema nikakva šansa, ovo je samo gotov game, ovo je gotova serija, G2 uništava KC, na kraju da, jedan game su dropovali, ali izgleda, to ih nije ni malo ovdje sputalo da stompaju. G2 želi tu titulu konačno, ide na Worlds, što smo donekli očekivali, što znači da je ekipa koju želimo, nećemo dobiti na Worldsu, ali šta da se radi, svakako fan serija. Definitivno dosta veći kvalitet nego ona juče i sutra nas također čeka jako fan serija pošto gledamo koji protiv Fanatika. Pobi protiv Džožupjuna i mislim će to biti jako dobra serija za gledanje.
A slažem se. To će Rale biti tu, tako da ja imam pauzu, a vi ćete da se družite sa našim Rastkom.
Čuli smo i to, Rale nam dolazi sutra, svakako idemo na i sam intervju. Vidjet ćemo ko će doći u intervju, Omare, svako hvala ti puno, mi se vidimo sutra, to jest preku sutra na EBL-u, uzet ću obzir da imamo i te EBL kvalifikacije, tako da ostavljamo intervju, ljudi moji, mi se vidimo malo kasnije na streamu, Patreoni vidimo se malo ranije na filmu, Mare, mi se vidimo sutra, to jest preku sutra.
Poz.
Ćao. Čuli smo, ljudi moji, to, idemo na intervju. I da, viđamo se na filmu za nekih sat vremena otprilike. Tako da uživite intervju.
KC, MKOI, Fnatic playing up against MKOI tomorrow. Obviously going to be a great series. Really looking forward to that one. And I think actually it gives us more information about the relative strengths of the groups. Yeah. Because G2 swept Fnatic. Like, that was not a close series. And then KC and MKOI were battling near the top of their side. So it's like, oh, G2 just the best and Fnatic are kind of equivalent to KC. Are Fnatic worse than KC and MKOI? We'll find out tomorrow.
And I'm really glad that we do have both of our split champions from this year in the conversation, in MKOI and KC, and G2 contesting with them. Gives us really comprehensive, really cool cinematic series upcoming.
Yeah, it really does. We're going to hand it over to Law, who is standing by with BB. Okay, take it away, Law.
Thank you so much, guys. Not only BB, but the G2 army is also joining us right now for the Marriott Bonvoy post-game check-in with Topfather. Thank you so much for joining me. How do you feel after this one?
Feel very great. Back to Worlds, back to where we belong.
We'll talk about Worlds a bit later because I want to grill you on that a bit, especially given the last international events. First things first, Sion, last game into Jace.
maybe a risky champion? What makes you confident that you could pull this one off?
Yeah, I mean, Sign is like very mechanically, like you need a lot of mechanics to play this champ.
Sure.
And also, Canada just picked Jason to it, which was a bit weird. But I felt very happy about that. I think the last draft, shout out to all the coaching staff, was very good. I was very confident, guys. Come on, you know. Like,
I mean, you're saying this, and it makes sense because checking stats, you have 100% win rate on Sion this year. Who are you, and what did you do with the Broken Blade? I used to know.
Do I need to say anything more?
No, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. I want to know what they think about the Kled experiment in game 1, though.
Nothing.
Maybe
exactly.
a bit too much cooking in the kitchen here, but yeah, right. No. For the memes, for the content. Wouldn't be a series for G2 if it wasn't for some content games. I was talking to Romain actually backstage, and for people who don't know this, BB is the one giving the pep talks to the team ahead of the series every time, as the captain he is.
Exactly.
What was the talk today?
I can't share it. You know, it's private information. Might get out somewhere. But I will tell you, I motivate them. You know, you guys know it. Yeah. You know? No, I usually think about what we need to do today. Also, keep in mind emotional level. Some say I have a very high emotional IQ. You guys don't know me personally, but the people who do, they say that. Okay. Especially a very dear person to me said this. So yeah, very, very, very happy with the pep talks.
All right.
I say speeches. I like it better.
Oh, speeches. Okay, I'm so sorry about that.
Yeah.
It won't happen again.
I think the speech was good today. Okay. To be fair.
The speech sounded good. You guys won 3-1. That was pretty convincing.
Thank you.
So we're talking about making it to Worlds. Actually, maybe you can help me on something, because at MSI, I know Kajol had Tabe, Shovi, and Faker on his stream. Faker said that maybe we don't have the best generation of players. Shovi was saying that maybe we don't have the best draft. Tabe was saying that maybe we don't have the good enough discipline. I'm joking here because I can't believe my words saying this. But what do you think about all this? Is the region cooked?
The region is not cooked until it's cooked. You know, we always find out at the end of the year. But until then, as long as there's delusion, there's hope. Is what people say. Why are you guys laughing?
All right. The Lulu is the Solulu until you guys make it to Worlds. Congrats on making it.
Thank you very much.
And we'll see you in Madrid as well. One more time. Please, the G2 Army for Broken Blade. That's all for us here. On this side of the stage. And I'm going to send it over to Ginny in PGL.
Thank you, Laure. Welcome, everyone, to PGL. I'm joined with Skumand and Dylan. Congratulations, guys. You got the finals in Madrid. You got Worlds. I would actually really like to start things off with maybe commenting on the quote that we just heard from BB. As long as there is delusion, there is hope. Would you agree?
Well, I think that since MSI, we've become a very, very different team. We've very consciously changed a lot of how we prepare, a lot of how we practice, a lot of what we care about and talk about in the game. And since that, I think we had a pretty strong EWC. I think we're much stronger here. So I think at Worlds, we'll be a different version of ourselves. So yes, at MSI, for sure, very bad. But I'm with the delusion as well.
All right, Skumand?
I mean, I think you said it very well, right? I'm not sure what to say, but yeah, you cannot steal my quote. But yeah, I totally agree, right? I'm really happy and looking forward for Worlds because I really believe that we can do some nice stuff. And yeah, I mean, my first World Championship, so I just can't wait.
But what do you think sets you guys apart? Because my perception coming into this playoffs was that G2, you guys are the only team that kind of fixed their issues, or like your issues, when it comes to improving from winter and spring, while others have been falling behind. So if you can give me a little bit more of a deeper dive on how that's been changing your approach to screens and everything, so that you find the success that other teams are not.
I mean, yeah, for sure, like we had a lot of issues, especially during MSI, and I think we tackled them really well, both like outside of the game and inside. And I think that we've put a lot of work to actually understand and craft the best thing that fits us. So like, yeah, drafts, the way we play, and yeah, like just how we play the game in general. And I think that we kind of found a good formula so far. And yeah, I just hope that we'll be able to keep it and yeah, just keep it.
Like if you come into these international tournaments and there's these huge conceptual things in the game that the other teams are ahead of you at. Like, for example, maybe utilizing range supports in draft. That was something that wasn't really as developed in Europe. Like, people played them, right? We even played them, but it was the Asian teams knew how to integrate them a lot better. There was other things like lane swap stuff against Genji was very hard for us, and then we implement that. So we just take stuff from that, and you get now months and months to develop the stuff we were weak on.
Would you say, if anything, having the opportunity to be going to those internationals as a team, and also for you, Skumon, this being the year that you're joining here with G2, is really that catalyst to being able to learn so much so quickly and adapt and implement it?
Oh yeah, definitely, for sure. Like, as I said, yeah, I mean, we didn't come like really prepared, I guess, for MSI. I think, yeah, like we had a lot of issues, but yeah, like if we didn't have MSI, I don't think that we would have been like this good in summer, right? So like if we just finish our place, like K-Cup, for example, I don't think we will be able to just like evolve way more, right, and faster. So I think, yeah, like these international experiences are really good, even though, yeah, like we just got stomped right in MSI, and it was like a really big disaster. But I think we had a lot of takeaways, and afterwards, yeah, for like even in WC, I think we did good, so yeah.
Also, our Kia player of the series is going to be you as well, Skumon. Yes, so congratulations for that. You just keep collecting the W's here today.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm really happy.
I would really like to kind of like cast back to G2 in general over the year that we've seen, because of course there was the roster change at the start of the year. There were a lot of questions, Dylan, in regards to how are they going to perform? Are they going to perform? Was this the right decision that we've made? And it would be really great to cast our minds back. I would like to talk about the bracket for winter and for spring, where you guys were so close yet not close enough. And this could have been a year where G2 closes things out without a trophy. Does that add a lot of pressure or maybe doubt as well?
I think we have the most talent of any team in Europe, for sure. And I think we made, against two different teams, right, through winners bracket both times to grand finals. So we showed in, like, even if it was a single elimination tournament, we'd have won both splits, right? So we can do it. I think we really had trouble putting it all together with regards to drafting and pressure and performing on the day, on both of those finals days. And I think MSI has we're just trying to take something from every split. And I think we're